Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing something that shouldn't exist, a star that flickers in a way no one can explain. Astronomers point their telescopes at it, trying to understand why it dims and brightens unpredictably. Some suggest planets passing in front of it, or clouds of cosmic dust blocking the light. But others propose something far more shocking, an alien megastructure, something so massive it could eclipse a star. Now, that might sound like science fiction, but the idea of advanced civilizations building giant energy-harvesting structures around stars is actually a serious topic in astrophysics. These hypothetical constructs, known as Dyson Spheres, were first proposed by physicist Freeman Dyson in the 1960s. The basic concept? A highly advanced civilization, possibly millions of years ahead of us, could build an enormous structure around a star to capture nearly all of its energy output. If something like this exists, it would be one of the greatest discoveries in human history, a sign that intelligent life has not only survived but thrived beyond our planet. But how realistic is this idea? Could a civilization really build something that enormous? And if so, have we already seen evidence of it? Some astronomers believe they might have found just that, a star, deep in our galaxy, behaving so strangely that some have speculated it could be surrounded by a massive alien-built structure. But before we jump to conclusions, let's break this down and explore everything we know. Dyson spheres aren't just a wild sci-fi fantasy. The logic behind them is rooted in real physics. As civilizations grow, their energy needs increase. We've already seen this happen on Earth. Our demand for power has skyrocketed with the rise of technology. If a civilization continues advancing, eventually, they'll need more energy than a planet can provide. The next logical step? Harnessing the full energy output of a star. A Dyson sphere, in its most extreme form, would be a solid shell completely encasing a star, capturing all its radiation and converting it into usable energy. The problem? Building a solid sphere around a star is practically impossible. The gravitational forces alone would tear it apart. But Dyson himself suggested something more realistic, what's called a Dyson swarm. Instead of one giant sphere, it would be a vast collection of satellites orbiting the star, each one soaking up sunlight and transmitting energy back to the civilization that built it. This concept is more feasible and doesn't require materials with impossible strength. Now you might be thinking, if such structures exist, wouldn't we be able to see them? The answer is, maybe. A Dyson swarm wouldn't completely block out a star's light, but it would dim it in strange, irregular ways. And that brings us to the most famous mystery in the search for alien megastructures, Tabby's star. Also known as KIC 846-2852, this star, about 1,470 light-years from Earth, has puzzled scientists for years. Observations show that its brightness dips by as much as 22%, far more than what would happen if a planet were passing in front of it. And the dimming is irregular, not like the predictable patterns we see with planets orbiting stars. Some researchers have suggested that a vast cloud of dust or comets could be responsible. But others speculate that something artificial, perhaps an incomplete Dyson swarm, might be to blame. Of course, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And so far, no one has definitively proven that Dyson spheres exist. But if they do, they could explain more than just strange dimming stars. Some scientists believe that looking for these structures might be the best way to detect advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. Instead of scanning the skies for radio signals, as projects like SETI do, we could search for the energy signatures of Dyson spheres. Think about it, if an advanced civilization is harnessing the energy of a star, it wouldn't just disappear. Some of that energy would be re-emitted as waste heat in the infrared spectrum. So, in theory, we could use telescopes to scan the sky for stars that appear strangely dim in visible light but emit an unusual amount of infrared radiation. And here's where things get even more interesting. Some astronomers have already looked for these signatures. A few years ago, researchers combed through data from the WISE Space Telescope, searching for objects that fit the profile of a Dyson sphere. They found some candidates, stars that seemed to have excess infrared radiation. But none of them provided definitive proof. Still, this search is just beginning, and future telescopes could offer better data. But let's take this idea even further. If Dyson spheres exist, they could be more than just giant solar panels. Some theories suggest they might serve other purposes, like computational megastructures. A hyper-advanced civilization might need vast amounts of processing power, so they could use Dyson spheres as enormous computers, running simulations, or even entire virtual worlds. This leads to some mind-bending possibilities. Could we be living in one of those simulations right now? And there's another question. If civilizations are capable of building Dyson spheres, wouldn't they be capable of even greater things? Some have speculated that civilizations might go beyond harnessing a single star and begin controlling entire galaxies. This brings us to an even bigger concept, the Kardashev scale. Proposed by Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev, this scale measures civilizations based on their energy usage. A Type 1 civilization uses all the energy available on its home planet, something we're still far from achieving. A Type 2 civilization harnesses the energy of an entire star, which is where Dyson spheres come in. But a Type 3 civilization? That's where things get truly cosmic. They would control the energy of an entire galaxy. If such civilizations exist, could we detect them? This idea isn't just theoretical. Some astronomers have searched for galaxies that appear strangely dim, suggesting they might have been enclosed in massive, energy-harvesting structures. So far, no definitive evidence has been found, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. And then there's the biggest question of all. If Dyson spheres exist, where is everyone? This brings us to the Fermi paradox, the puzzling contradiction between the high probability of alien civilizations and the complete lack of evidence for them. If civilizations can build Dyson spheres, why haven't we seen one for certain? Could it be that they don't want to be found? Or do advanced civilizations eventually reach a point where they stop expanding and leave no visible trace? This mystery remains unsolved. But as our technology improves, we may get closer to answering it. Future telescopes, like the James Webb Space Telescope and upcoming projects like the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, could provide more data on unusual stars and infrared anomalies. If Dyson spheres are real, finding one would change everything. It would prove that intelligent life isn't just possible, it's out there, shaping the cosmos in ways we can barely imagine. But for now, the mystery remains. Are Dyson spheres real? Have we already seen one without realizing it? Or are they just a fascinating idea that will remain in the realm of speculation? Until we find definitive proof, the search continues. The idea of Dyson spheres has captivated both scientists and science fiction enthusiasts for decades, but to truly grasp the scale of such a structure, we need to break it down into practical challenges. First, there's the sheer amount of material required. A full Dyson sphere, even if it were a swarm rather than a solid shell, would require a colossal amount of raw materials, far beyond what we could ever harvest from Earth. Even if we stripped entire planets down to their cores, it likely wouldn't be enough. This is where the concept of stellar engineering comes in. A civilization attempting to build a Dyson sphere would need to mine entire asteroids, moons, or even disassemble planets to get the necessary resources. One possibility is that they could harness the material from gas giants, or even construct massive space factories to refine metals from asteroid belts. Given that our own solar system contains plenty of raw material, it's conceivable that an advanced civilization might be able to piece together the building blocks of a Dyson swarm over thousands, or even millions of years. But material gathering is just the beginning. Once the resources are secured, the next problem is construction. A Dyson sphere wouldn't just be one solid object but an incredibly complex arrangement of satellites or megastructures, all needing to be precisely positioned in orbit around a star. If the alignment is even slightly off, collisions could occur, causing catastrophic chain reactions that could destroy the entire system. A civilization building such a structure would need near-perfect automation, likely using advanced artificial intelligence and self-replicating machines to manage the process. And then there's the issue of stability. A solid Dyson sphere, as originally imagined, is structurally impossible because of gravity. Any large object in orbit must move, otherwise it will be pulled into the star it surrounds. A rigid shell would collapse inward without a balancing force. That's why Dyson swarms make more sense. They allow for individual pieces to stay in stable orbits while still harvesting a massive amount of energy. But even if we assume a civilization figured out how to construct and stabilize a Dyson swarm, how would they transmit the energy? This is one of the most difficult challenges to overcome. There are a few possibilities. One is that they could beam the energy back to their homeworld using microwaves or lasers. This would be incredibly difficult but not impossible. Scientists on Earth have already experimented with wireless power transmission using microwaves. However, the amount of energy required would be beyond anything we've ever attempted. Another possibility is that the civilization wouldn't need to transmit the energy at all. Instead, they might construct vast habitats around the star itself, living on enormous space stations powered directly by the Dyson swarm. This would transform their society into a completely space-based civilization, untethered from planets altogether. If such a civilization exists, how would we detect it? One of the most promising methods involves looking for waste heat. According to the laws of thermodynamics, no energy harvesting system is 100% efficient. Some of the energy captured from the star would inevitably be re-emitted as heat in the infrared spectrum. This is where astronomers have been searching. One of the most intriguing studies involved combing through data from the Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer (WISE) telescope. Scientists looked at hundreds of thousands of stars, searching for unusual infrared signatures that might indicate the presence of a Dyson sphere. While they found some interesting candidates, none have been confirmed as artificial structures. Still, the search continues, and with future telescopes, we may get closer to an answer. But what if Dyson spheres are real, and we just haven't found them yet? One reason we might not have detected them is that truly advanced civilizations could be incredibly rare. If Dyson spheres are only built by Type II civilizations, those capable of harnessing an entire star's energy, then it's possible that such societies exist in distant galaxies, far beyond our current observational capabilities. Another reason could be that these civilizations don't want to be found. The idea of a dark forest universe suggests that intelligent life might stay hidden to avoid detection by potentially hostile extraterrestrials. If that's the case, then Dyson spheres might be built in ways that minimize their infrared signature, making them nearly impossible to detect from Earth. And there's an even more unsettling possibility. What if civilizations that attempt to build Dyson spheres don't survive long enough to complete them? This ties into the idea of the Great Filter, a concept suggesting that there is some unknown obstacle that prevents civilizations from advancing beyond a certain point. If the Great Filter exists, it could explain why we haven't seen Dyson spheres. Perhaps civilizations capable of building them either destroy themselves or face an existential threat before they can complete such structures. But if Dyson spheres do exist, could we ever build one ourselves? Based on our current technological trajectory, we are nowhere near capable of constructing such a megastructure. However, some scientists believe that within the next few thousand years, humanity could reach a point where building a Dyson swarm becomes a real possibility. The first step would likely be colonizing the solar system and developing advanced automation and artificial intelligence. Once we establish large-scale space habitats and self-replicating machines, we could begin deploying energy-collecting satellites around the Sun. This wouldn't be a true Dyson sphere, but rather a precursor, a way to increase our energy capabilities before expanding further. If humanity ever reaches this level of technological advancement, the benefits would be enormous. A Dyson swarm could provide virtually unlimited energy, eliminating scarcity and enabling civilization to expand beyond our home planet. It could power massive interstellar projects, artificial worlds, and even the creation of entire simulated realities. But there's a final question to consider. If Dyson spheres are real, what else could advanced civilizations be building? Some scientists have proposed even more extreme megastructures, like Matryoshka brains, layers of Dyson spheres built around a star to create a massive computational system capable of running entire simulated universes. If such structures exist, they could be beyond anything we can comprehend. And that leads to one of the most mind-bending possibilities of all. What if we are already inside one? Some theories suggest that the universe itself might be an artificial construct, a simulation created by an advanced intelligence. If that's true, then Dyson spheres might just be the beginning of a far more complex reality than we ever imagined. So, the mystery remains. Are Dyson spheres real? Could we be on the verge of discovering one, hidden among the stars? Or is the concept nothing more than an intriguing but unattainable vision of the future? Until we find definitive proof, all we can do is keep searching, keep questioning, and keep wondering what might be out there, waiting for us to see. If Dyson spheres exist, they would represent the pinnacle of technological mastery, a sign that a civilization has broken free from the constraints of planetary living. But one of the biggest questions remains: if they are out there, why haven't we found them yet? This question ties directly into the Fermi paradox, the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations and our complete lack of evidence for them. Some scientists argue that Dyson spheres, if they exist, might be incredibly rare. A civilization must not only reach a highly advanced technological level, but it must also have the environmental stability to sustain a project of such magnitude over thousands of years. The immense coordination required to mine planets, transport materials, and construct an orbital megastructure would be an achievement unlike anything seen before. Perhaps this level of progress is simply too difficult for most civilizations to reach before they encounter some existential crisis. But let's assume a civilization does overcome these challenges. If they successfully construct a Dyson swarm, would we even be able to see it? The most likely way to detect one is through its infrared heat signature. However, a truly advanced species might find a way to minimize that signature, making their structure nearly invisible to our telescopes. Some theorists have suggested that alien civilizations could be using exotic energy conversion techniques, like harvesting energy so efficiently that there is almost no excess waste heat. If that's the case, Dyson spheres could be out there, but they would be nearly undetectable with our current technology. There's also the possibility that civilizations capable of building Dyson spheres don't want to be found. The dark forest hypothesis, a chilling answer to the Fermi paradox, suggests that intelligent civilizations remain silent out of fear. In a universe where resources are limited, and other species might be hostile, the best strategy for survival is to avoid detection entirely. If this theory is correct, then a Dyson sphere would be a massive, glowing target, an open invitation for destruction. To avoid this, an advanced civilization might construct energy harvesting structures in a way that blends in with cosmic dust, disguising their presence from prying eyes. Another potential answer to why we haven't seen Dyson spheres is that they might not be built around stars at all. Traditional Dyson sphere concepts focus on surrounding a sun-like star to capture its energy. But what if advanced civilizations prefer other energy sources? Some scientists have proposed that an even more efficient energy source would be a black hole. By constructing a massive energy collection array around an accreting black hole, a civilization could theoretically extract far more energy than they could from a typical star. In this scenario, Dyson-like structures might exist, but they would be clustered around black holes instead of visible stars, making them much harder to detect. If we ever do discover a Dyson sphere, the implications would be staggering. It wouldn't just be evidence of extraterrestrial life. It would be proof that life can evolve beyond our current level of technological development. It would mean that somewhere in the universe, a civilization has survived long enough to reach Type 2 on the Kardashev scale, harnessing the power of an entire star. But that raises an even more intriguing question: what would happen if a civilization reached Type 3, capable of controlling the energy output of an entire galaxy? If Dyson spheres are real, then perhaps there are even greater megastructures waiting to be found. Some scientists have speculated about the possibility of galaxy-spanning civilizations that use entire networks of Dyson swarms to power unimaginable technological feats. These civilizations might have found a way to manipulate dark matter, tap into the energy of neutron stars, or even control the very fabric of space-time itself. One of the most extreme possibilities is that Dyson spheres are just a stepping stone to something even more advanced, structures that go beyond physical construction and into computational reality. Some theorists have proposed the idea of matryoshka brains, massive computer systems made up of nested Dyson spheres, capable of running entire simulated universes. If a civilization were to build one, they could create and sustain artificial realities indistinguishable from our own. This leads to one of the most unsettling ideas in modern science, the simulation hypothesis. If a Dyson sphere can power an entire artificial reality, how do we know we aren't already inside one? If a civilization has reached the point where it can build megastructures beyond our comprehension, it's possible that our own universe is nothing more than a vast, simulated construct, created by an intelligence so advanced that we would appear to them as microbes appear to us. But before diving too deep into speculation, let's return to the present. Right now, we don't have definitive proof that Dyson spheres exist. However, the search continues. Future telescopes, like the James Webb Space Telescope and its successors, may provide better infrared detection capabilities, allowing us to spot potential candidates with more precision. Breakthroughs in artificial intelligence may also help us sift through vast amounts of astronomical data to find patterns we might otherwise miss. One day, we may look up at the night sky and see not just stars, but the unmistakable signatures of artificial megastructures built by civilizations far beyond our own. Whether that day comes in a decade, a century, or a millennium, the search for Dyson spheres represents something far greater than just a scientific pursuit. It is a search for our own future. Because if they exist, it means we might one day build one ourselves. And that raises the final question: when humanity reaches that level, will we remain the same? Or will we become something unrecognizable, something post-human, something that future civilizations will look upon as we now look upon the ancient stars? If Dyson spheres are real, and if they are the inevitable result of technological progress, then they represent more than just an astronomical curiosity. They signify a transformation, one where a civilization ceases to be confined by the limits of its home planet, and instead becomes a force that operates on the scale of stars themselves. But if that's true, then every Dyson sphere we might discover carries a second, hidden message, evidence that at least one civilization has survived long enough to build it. This is where the stakes of the search become clear. Right now, humanity stands at a crossroads. We are, at best, a Type 0.7 civilization on the Kardashev scale, still dependent on fossil fuels, struggling with global crises, and nowhere near the level of energy mastery required to construct a Dyson sphere. But if Dyson spheres exist, they provide us with an example of what is possible. They tell us that it is possible for intelligent life to persist, to evolve, and to expand beyond the limits of a single world. And yet, this idea carries an unsettling implication. If Dyson spheres exist, why haven't their creators made themselves known? This question ties directly into the Great Filter hypothesis. The Great Filter is a proposed explanation for the Fermi paradox, suggesting that somewhere along the path from simple life to interstellar civilization, there is a nearly insurmountable barrier. This filter could be behind us, meaning life itself is extremely rare. Or it could be ahead of us, meaning most civilizations self-destruct before reaching a point where they can colonize the stars. If the filter is ahead of us, then Dyson spheres may be an exception rather than the rule. Perhaps civilizations that reach the capability to construct them are extremely rare, or they tend to collapse before completing such projects. There's also the possibility that a more advanced civilization actively prevents others from reaching that level, a concept sometimes referred to as the galactic zoo hypothesis, where Earth and other young civilizations are deliberately kept in the dark by a superior intelligence. But let's entertain the more optimistic scenario. Dyson spheres do exist, and the civilizations that built them are simply too distant, too hidden, or too uninterested in making contact with us. If that's the case, then what would one actually look like if we were able to find it? A fully complete Dyson sphere, as originally envisioned by Freeman Dyson, would completely enclose a star, capturing 100% of its energy output. However, such a structure would be incredibly difficult to build and would likely be unstable due to gravitational forces and internal stresses. A more likely version would be a Dyson swarm, a vast collection of solar-collecting satellites orbiting the star in a coordinated pattern. This would allow for flexible energy harvesting without requiring a single, solid shell. A Dyson swarm would not block visible light entirely, but it would produce a distinct infrared signature as it radiates excess heat. This is precisely the type of signature astronomers have been searching for. So far, a few candidates have emerged, most famously, Tabby's star, KIC 8462852, which exhibited strange, irregular dimming patterns that some speculated could be the result of an incomplete or broken Dyson swarm. However, later studies suggested that natural phenomena, such as interstellar dust or an unusually dense planetary debris field, could explain the observations. Still, the search continues. New infrared sky surveys and future telescopes, such as the upcoming LUVOIR and HABEX missions, may provide better data, allowing us to refine our search. Some scientists have even proposed scanning nearby galaxies for signs of artificial megastructures, reasoning that a civilization capable of building Dyson spheres would likely expand to colonize multiple star systems. If we do find evidence of a Dyson sphere, it would change everything. Not only would it confirm the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence, but it would provide us with a glimpse of our own potential future. It would mean that humanity, too, could one day build such a structure, assuming we survive long enough to reach that stage. But here's where things take an even stranger turn. What if Dyson spheres aren't just tools for harvesting energy? What if they serve another, even more profound purpose? Some scientists have suggested that an advanced civilization might use a Dyson sphere as a means of achieving digital immortality. By converting an entire star's energy output into computational power, a society could upload its consciousness into an artificial reality, a digital universe running inside a massive star-powered supercomputer. If this is the case, then Dyson spheres might not just be megastructures, they might be the final stage of civilization itself. A civilization that builds one might not need physical worlds anymore. Instead, they could retreat into a vast, simulated paradise of their own design, where time itself can be manipulated, and existence takes on entirely new dimensions. This raises a profound question. If an advanced civilization can create an entire simulated reality, how do we know we aren't living inside one right now? The idea that we might be inside a simulation isn't just science fiction, it's a serious philosophical and scientific question, explored by thinkers like Nick Bostrom and even discussed by prominent physicists. If a Dyson sphere can power an artificial universe, then the odds are that simulated realities vastly outnumber real ones. And if that's true, then statistically speaking, we are far more likely to be in one of those simulations than in the original, base reality. But let's step back from speculation for a moment, and return to the hard science. Even if we never find a Dyson sphere built by aliens, could we one day build one ourselves? The answer depends on how fast humanity advances technologically. Right now, we are far from being able to mine entire planets for materials or coordinate massive construction projects in space. However, in a few hundred years, or even sooner if breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and robotics accelerate progress, we might begin laying the groundwork for such an undertaking. The first step would likely be the construction of large-scale solar power satellites, which could gradually evolve into a rudimentary Dyson swarm. From there, we would need to develop the ability to harvest materials from asteroids and other celestial bodies, using self-replicating machines to reduce the need for constant human oversight. Eventually, as our energy demands grow and our capabilities expand, constructing a true Dyson swarm could become not just possible, but necessary for our survival. And that leads to the final question: if Dyson spheres are real, then what comes after them? If a Type 2 civilization builds one, then the next logical step would be to expand further, perhaps constructing similar megastructures around multiple stars, linking them together in vast, energy-sharing networks. Eventually, if a civilization progresses far enough, it might begin manipulating the very structure of the universe itself, altering the laws of physics, or even creating entirely new universes. This is where the search for Dyson spheres transcends astronomy and becomes something deeper. It is not just a search for alien life, it is a search for the possible limits of intelligence itself. It is a glimpse into what the ultimate destiny of life in the universe might be. Whether or not we ever find one, the mere fact that we are looking is a testament to our own curiosity, our ambition, and our desire to understand what lies beyond. And perhaps, one day in the distant future, if humanity survives long enough, someone else will be looking at our own Dyson Sphere, a distant observer in another galaxy, wondering what kind of beings could have built such a thing. And in that moment, they will ask the same question we ask today. Are we alone? The question of whether we are alone in the universe has haunted humanity for centuries, but the search for Dyson Spheres adds an entirely new layer to this mystery. Unlike signals from alien radio transmissions, which could be fleeting, or exoplanetary observations, which only hint at the potential for life, a Dyson Sphere would be undeniable evidence of an advanced civilization. It would be a structure so vast, so unmistakably artificial, that it could not be explained by any known natural process. But the problem is, even if Dyson Spheres exist, they would be incredibly difficult to detect. A Dyson swarm, a more realistic version of the concept, would still leave gaps between its energy-harvesting satellites, meaning a star might still shine in the visible spectrum, albeit with some irregular dimming patterns. This is why objects like Tabby's star, KIC 846-2852, spark so much interest. Its unpredictable dips in brightness seemed eerily consistent with the idea of an incomplete or evolving Dyson swarm. Yet, despite years of observation, no definitive evidence has emerged. Instead, explanations involving dense clouds of dust or cometary debris have taken center stage. But does this mean we should give up the search? Not at all. If Dyson Spheres exist, we might just be looking for them in the wrong way. Instead of relying on visible light observations, the best way to find them would be to look for their excess heat. No matter how advanced the civilization becomes, it cannot escape the fundamental laws of thermodynamics. Even if a Dyson Sphere captures nearly all the energy from its star, it must radiate that energy away in the form of infrared heat. This is why astronomers have been combing through data from infrared surveys, looking for stars that appear to be surrounded by an unusual amount of waste heat. Some potential candidates have been found, but none have been confirmed as definitive evidence of a Dyson Sphere. The problem is that many natural processes, such as dust-enshrouded stars or galaxies with active star formation, can also produce excess infrared radiation. Distinguishing an artificial source from a natural one is a challenge that requires more advanced telescopes and better methods of analysis. Future space telescopes, like the James Webb Space Telescope and proposed missions like LUVOIR and HABEX, may give us the tools to conduct a more thorough search. These instruments will allow astronomers to analyze the chemical composition of planetary atmospheres in unprecedented detail. If a Dyson Sphere exists, the space around it might contain traces of artificial elements, or compounds that do not naturally occur in space. But there's another possibility, one that is perhaps even more unsettling. What if Dyson Spheres exist, but their creators don't want to be found? The idea that advanced civilizations might deliberately hide their presence is known as the dark forest hypothesis. This theory suggests that the universe is like a dark forest, filled with predators and prey. Any civilization that reveals its location risks being destroyed by a more advanced or more aggressive species. If this is true, then Dyson Spheres might be designed in a way that minimizes their detectability. Instead of radiating waste heat, they could employ exotic physics to recycle energy with near-perfect efficiency. Some theorists have even proposed that ultra-advanced civilizations might exist in a state of near-total energy equilibrium, making them almost invisible to our current methods of detection. And if that's the case, then perhaps the reason we haven't found Dyson Spheres is not because they don't exist, but because their builders have gone to extreme lengths to ensure that we never do. But let's assume for a moment that we do find one. Imagine the moment when astronomers confirm, beyond any doubt, that an artificial structure is encircling a distant star. The implications would be profound. The discovery would instantly become the most significant moment in human history, proving once and for all that we are not alone. It would force us to rethink our place in the universe, our own technological trajectory, and even the fate of civilizations as they advance. and then the real questions would begin. How old is this Dyson sphere? Is it still in use, or is it a relic of a long-dead civilization? If it is still functional, what is its purpose? Is it merely an energy-harvesting structure, or is it part of something far greater, perhaps a vast interstellar network of megastructures? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, if we can see them, can they see us? The implications of first contact, even if it is indirect through the discovery of a Dyson sphere, would be staggering. It could provide us with a roadmap for our own future, showing us what is possible if we survive long enough to reach such a level of development. But it could also serve as a warning, proof that civilizations can advance far beyond our current capabilities, and yet still remain silent. If Dyson spheres exist, and if their creators have chosen not to make contact, then we must ask why. Is it because they see no reason to communicate with a species as primitive as ours? Or is it because they have learned something about the nature of the universe, something so profound, so terrifying, that they have chosen to remain hidden? This is the ultimate mystery of the search for Dyson spheres. It is not just about finding evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. It is about understanding what happens to civilizations as they evolve. Do they expand and thrive, building megastructures and colonizing the stars? Or do they reach a point where they withdraw, disappear, or self-destruct? The search for Dyson spheres is, at its core, a search for our own future. It is an attempt to answer the most fundamental question of all: what happens to intelligence in the universe? Does it flourish, or does it fade away? And as we continue to search, we must ask ourselves, if another civilization is out there, looking for signs of life around distant stars, what would they see when they look at us? Would they see a young, promising species on the verge of something great? Or would they see a civilization destined to burn out before it ever reaches the stars? Perhaps, the greatest mystery is not whether Dyson spheres exist, but whether we will ever be the ones to build one. If we ever do build a Dyson sphere, or even a Dyson swarm, it would mark the beginning of a new era for humanity. No longer confined to the limitations of planetary energy sources, we would become a true interstellar species, harnessing the full power of our sun to propel us toward unimaginable technological advancements. But getting there would be an enormous challenge. First, there's the sheer scale of the materials required. A solid Dyson sphere, the kind originally envisioned by Freeman Dyson, would need a shell so massive that there isn't enough raw material in our solar system to construct it. The amount of matter needed to build such a megastructure is staggering, potentially requiring us to dismantle entire planets just to gather enough material. For this reason, most modern theorists believe a Dyson swarm is a more practical approach. Instead of one continuous shell, a swarm consists of millions, or even billions, of smaller satellites that orbit the star in a carefully coordinated manner, absorbing its energy and transmitting it elsewhere. Each individual satellite would be much easier to construct than a full sphere, and the project could be built incrementally over time. But even a Dyson swarm comes with its own set of challenges. First, the logistics of launching and coordinating millions of energy-collecting satellites would require an unprecedented level of engineering sophistication. Each unit would need to be precisely positioned so that it doesn't interfere with the orbits of others. Maintaining stability across such a vast network of objects would require highly advanced automation, artificial intelligence, and self-repairing systems to ensure that malfunctions don't lead to a cascading failure. Then there's the problem of energy transmission. Once the satellites collect the sun's energy, how do we get it to where it's needed? One possibility is wireless power transmission, using microwaves or lasers to send energy from space to collection stations on Earth or elsewhere in the solar system. However, these methods come with efficiency losses and potential hazards. High-powered beams of energy could pose a threat to anything that crosses their path. Another challenge is heat dissipation. A Dyson swarm would absorb an immense amount of energy, and while some of it could be transmitted for use, the excess would need to be radiated away to prevent overheating. This is one reason why scientists believe that if extraterrestrial civilizations have built Dyson spheres, we might be able to detect them through their infrared signatures. If we ever reach the point of building a Dyson swarm, it would signify that we have become a Type 2 civilization on the Kardashev scale, a framework that measures a civilization's level of technological advancement based on its energy consumption. A Type 1 civilization, where we currently stand, harnesses energy at the scale of its home planet. A Type 2 civilization captures the full energy output of its star. A Dyson swarm would be a definitive step in that direction. But what comes after that? If a civilization is capable of building a Dyson sphere, what stops it from going even further? Some theorists believe that the next logical step would be to construct Dyson spheres around multiple stars, effectively turning an entire galaxy into an energy-harvesting network. This would mark the transition to a Type 3 civilization, one that controls the energy of an entire galaxy. If such civilizations exist, they might be detectable through unusual infrared emissions from galaxies that appear to be missing their expected visible light output. However, this idea raises a troubling question. If advanced civilizations can harness such immense energy resources, why don't we see them everywhere? The observable universe contains billions of galaxies, and if even a small fraction of them contain Type 3 civilizations, we should have noticed something unusual by now. This is where the Fermi paradox comes into play. The paradox highlights the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the lack of observable evidence. If the universe is filled with civilizations advanced enough to build Dyson spheres, why do we see no clear signs of them? One possible explanation is that Dyson spheres are not as common as we might expect. Perhaps only a tiny fraction of civilizations ever reach the point where they can build such megastructures. Many may self-destruct before reaching that stage due to war, resource depletion, or unforeseen technological risks. Another possibility is that Dyson spheres are deliberately concealed. If a civilization subscribes to the dark forest hypothesis, the idea that revealing one's presence in the universe invites existential danger, it might take extreme measures to minimize its detectability. Instead of radiating waste heat in the infrared spectrum, it might use advanced techniques to disperse excess energy in a way that appears indistinguishable from natural cosmic background radiation. Alternatively, Dyson spheres might be so advanced that we simply don't recognize them. A sufficiently developed civilization could be operating on a level that is beyond our current understanding of physics, using principles of energy manipulation that do not conform to our expectations. In this case, we may have already observed Dyson spheres without realizing what they are. But there's another possibility, one that is perhaps even more unsettling. What if the reason we don't see Dyson spheres is that civilizations that reach this level of advancement tend to vanish? The Great Filter hypothesis suggests that there is some unknown barrier that prevents civilizations from progressing beyond a certain point. This could be due to self-inflicted destruction, an unforeseen cosmic threat, or limitations in the nature of intelligence itself. If this is true, then searching for Dyson spheres isn't just about finding aliens, it's about understanding our own future. If we find evidence of megastructures built by ancient civilizations that no longer exist, it might suggest that there is an inevitable roadblock ahead for any species that reaches that level of advancement. And if we find no Dyson spheres at all, we are left with two possibilities. Either intelligent civilizations are extraordinarily rare, or they don't last long enough to build them. But the search is far from over. Future telescopes and observational methods may yet provide the answers we seek. The more we study exoplanets, stars, and distant galaxies, the more we refine our ability to detect artificial structures. If Dyson spheres are out there, we may only be a few technological breakthroughs away from discovering them. And if we do, it would change everything. It would prove, once and for all, that we are not alone. That intelligence can persist, thrive, and reshape entire solar systems. That somewhere, out there, an alien civilization has done what we have only dreamed of. The question remains, if they can build Dyson spheres, why haven't they contacted us? And if we ever build one ourselves, what will we do next? Will we become explorers, expanding across the galaxy with limitless energy? Or will we, like the civilizations that may have come before us, disappear into the void, leaving behind only the silent glow of our own forgotten megastructure? The search for Dyson spheres, and the civilizations that might have built them, is more than just an academic curiosity. It's a test of our understanding of the universe and our place in it. If we find even a single example of a functioning Dyson sphere, it would prove that intelligent life can survive long enough to reach a level of technological mastery. But if we find nothing, it raises an even bigger question: why? One possibility is that advanced civilizations simply don't need Dyson spheres. Maybe by the time they reach the level of a Type 2 civilization, they've developed more efficient ways to harness energy, methods that don't require massive, detectable structures. They could be using quantum-scale energy manipulation, dark matter harvesting, or something even more exotic that we can't yet imagine. If so, our entire concept of Dyson spheres might be outdated, a relic of our current technological limitations. Another theory is that energy efficiency becomes so advanced that building something as massive as a Dyson sphere becomes unnecessary. Instead of capturing an entire star's energy output, a civilization might develop ways to extract nearly infinite energy from tiny sources, perhaps even vacuum energy from the fabric of space-time itself. If such a breakthrough is possible, then civilizations might never need to go through the Dyson sphere phase at all. But if Dyson spheres do exist, there's a question we haven't yet explored: what happens to them over time? Do they last forever? Or do they eventually fail? A Dyson sphere, if not maintained, could degrade over thousands or millions of years. Collisions with space debris, gravitational disturbances, or internal system failures could cause sections of it to break apart. Over time, the entire structure might crumble, leaving behind only scattered remnants orbiting the star. If civilizations do build Dyson spheres, perhaps they don't remain stable for long, at least not on cosmic timescales. This leads to another chilling possibility. What if we're looking for Dyson spheres in the wrong way? Instead of searching for intact, functioning structures, maybe we should be looking for the ruins of ones that have collapsed. If an ancient civilization built a Dyson sphere millions of years ago and then vanished, would we even recognize the remains? Maybe certain unusual debris fields, unexplained heat signatures, or anomalous orbits of stars could be the telltale signs of a once mighty megastructure that has long since fallen apart. This could explain some of the strange observations we've already made. Astronomers have detected stars with bizarre, irregular dimming patterns, stars that don't seem to have planets orbiting them but still show unexplained fluctuations in brightness. Could these be the remnants of Dyson spheres in decay, with massive chunks of broken megastructures passing in front of their parent stars? One such star, known as Tabby's star, KIC 8462852, has baffled scientists for years. Its light output drops in ways that don't match any known natural phenomenon. Some have speculated that it could be due to the remains of an ancient Dyson swarm, with broken satellites or megastructures periodically blocking the star's light. While there are natural explanations, such as comet clouds or dust, the truth is that we still don't fully understand what's happening there. But what if Dyson spheres aren't abandoned because they decay? What if something else is responsible for their disappearance? This is where the idea of the Great Filter comes back into play. Some researchers fear that civilizations advanced enough to build Dyson spheres may also be advanced enough to attract attention, possibly the wrong kind of attention. If there's something out there that hunts advanced civilizations, then maybe reaching the level where you can construct a Dyson sphere is the point where things become dangerous. Imagine a scenario where an intelligent civilization builds a Dyson sphere, proudly harnessing the full power of its star. This makes it highly visible on an interstellar scale, essentially a bright beacon saying, "Here we are!" If there's another civilization, one far more powerful, watching the cosmos, would they see this as a threat? Would they act to remove potential competitors before they become too strong? This is the heart of the dark forest hypothesis, a theory that suggests the universe is silent not because intelligent life is rare, but because intelligent life that reveals itself doesn't last long. If true, then Dyson spheres might be incredibly rare because the civilizations that build them don't survive long enough to make them common. Of course, this is all speculation. There's no direct evidence that any sort of interstellar threat exists, but the fact remains that we see no Dyson spheres. Either they don't exist, they are incredibly rare, or there's a reason they aren't around anymore. But let's assume for a moment that none of these catastrophic scenarios are true. Let's assume that Dyson spheres are out there, but we just haven't found them yet. How would we go about detecting them? One way is by looking for their infrared signatures. A Dyson sphere would absorb nearly all the visible light from its star, but it would still emit heat, just like a machine engine or a city at night. That heat would show up as infrared radiation. Astronomers have been scanning the cosmos for any unusual infrared sources that don't match normal star emissions, hoping to spot a Dyson sphere in action. Another method is searching for unnatural dimming patterns. If a Dyson swarm is in place, we might notice irregular, non-planetary obstructions blocking the light from a star in a way that doesn't fit normal astrophysical models. There's even the possibility of looking for energy leaks. No system is perfectly efficient, and if a civilization is harnessing energy on such a vast scale, some of it might escape in ways that we can detect, perhaps as waste heat, erratic electromagnetic emissions, or even unusual gravitational anomalies. But what if Dyson spheres aren't around individual stars at all? What if some civilizations take this idea to the next level and build Dyson spheres around black holes? A black hole Dyson sphere would work differently from a traditional one. Instead of capturing light, it would absorb the immense energy emitted by the black hole's accretion disk and jets. In theory, a civilization could construct a ring or shell around a supermassive black hole and harvest its energy output. In fact, black holes might be even better energy sources than stars because they can convert matter into energy far more efficiently than nuclear fusion. If such a structure exists, it might be even harder to detect than a regular Dyson sphere. Instead of looking for missing starlight, we'd have to look for black holes that appear to be surrounded by an unexplained excess of structured radiation, energy that shouldn't be there unless something artificial was harnessing it. But if we ever do find a Dyson sphere, whether around a star or a black hole, it would be the single greatest discovery in human history. It would confirm that intelligent life has risen elsewhere in the universe. And if we don't? If we never find a Dyson sphere, then we're left with a far more disturbing mystery. Either civilizations capable of building them don't exist, or something prevents them from surviving long enough to do so. But what if we are the first? What if humanity is the only intelligent species to have reached this stage? If that's the case, then the responsibility falls on us. It means we are the pioneers, the first to explore this path. It means that if Dyson spheres don't exist yet, it's because we're the ones who have to build them. But before we do, we must ask ourselves one final question. If we ever build a Dyson sphere, will it be the beginning of our ultimate ascension? Or will it be the last mistake we ever make? The prospect of building a Dyson sphere is both exhilarating and terrifying. If we ever reach the point where humanity can construct one, it will mean that we have solved nearly every major challenge of energy production, resource extraction, and large-scale engineering. We would no longer be bound by the limitations of fossil fuels, nuclear power, or even solar panels. Instead, we would be able to harness energy on a scale beyond anything that exists on Earth today. But what would this mean for civilization as a whole? Would such a leap in energy availability lead to an age of prosperity, where scarcity is eliminated and all of humanity's problems are solved? Or would it introduce new dangers, unseen consequences that could bring about our downfall? One of the most obvious concerns is the sheer scale of a Dyson sphere. A civilization capable of building one would need to extract and transport materials on a level that we can barely comprehend. Mining entire planets, moons, and asteroids would become necessary. In some cases, entire solar systems might need to be dismantled to provide the necessary raw materials. This raises an ethical question. Would we be willing to destroy worlds, potentially even habitable ones, in the pursuit of unlimited energy? If we ever develop the ability to construct a Dyson sphere, we will have reached a point where we can reshape entire star systems to our will. This means we will no longer be limited by the natural order of planetary orbits, gravity, and cosmic structures. We will become the architects of our own cosmic destiny. But would such power corrupt us? But let's assume for a moment that we do build a Dyson sphere successfully, and it operates as intended. What happens next? With virtually unlimited energy at our disposal, humanity would no longer be limited by planetary constraints. We could power advanced artificial intelligence far beyond anything we can currently imagine. We could terraform planets, create artificial worlds, and extend human lifespans indefinitely through technological advancements. However, the creation of such a structure could also draw attention. As we discussed earlier, if the dark forest hypothesis is correct, then announcing our presence on a galactic scale could be a fatal mistake. A fully operational Dyson sphere would be one of the brightest artificial signatures in the universe, potentially attracting the attention of civilizations far older and more advanced than us. Would they see us as a threat? A curiosity? Or would they have already encountered other civilizations that made the same leap and vanished? The mystery of why we haven't yet observed any Dyson spheres remains one of the greatest questions in astrophysics. Either they don't exist, they are incredibly rare, or something is preventing their long-term survival. Until we find one, or build one ourselves, the mystery remains unsolved. If Dyson spheres are possible and advanced civilizations can build them, why haven't we found any? With billions of stars in the galaxy and the sheer number of exoplanets that could host intelligent life, you'd expect at least some evidence of massive energy-collecting structures. But despite decades of searching, we still haven't found a confirmed Dyson sphere. One possibility is that these structures are simply too rare. Maybe intelligent life itself is uncommon, and the number of civilizations that progress far enough to build a Dyson sphere is even smaller. The technological and resource demands for constructing such a megastructure are enormous. Even if a civilization reaches that level of advancement, it might decide that Dyson spheres aren't worth the effort. Another explanation could be that Dyson spheres don't last long. A civilization might build one, only to face some catastrophe that leads to its destruction. This could be due to internal conflicts, engineering failures, or even cosmic disasters like asteroid impacts, gamma-ray bursts, or supernovae. There's also the possibility that Dyson spheres exist, but we're looking for them in the wrong way. Most searches for extraterrestrial intelligence focus on looking for heat signatures, infrared radiation that would be emitted by a structure capturing a star's energy. But what if Dyson spheres are built differently than we expect? What if they use highly efficient technology that minimizes waste heat? Or what if they exist in forms we can't even comprehend, such as dark matter-based structures or exotic materials that don't behave in ways we currently understand? Another unsettling idea is that Dyson spheres are hidden on purpose. If the dark forest hypothesis is correct, then civilizations that reach the level where they can build such megastructures may deliberately cloak themselves to avoid detection. They might use advanced technology to disguise their infrared emissions, making them nearly impossible to detect. If this is true, then the silence of the universe might not mean that advanced civilizations don't exist, it might mean they're all hiding. But let's assume for a moment that Dyson spheres are out there, waiting to be found. How would we confirm one? One way is to look for stars that suddenly dim in an unusual way. If a Dyson sphere is partially constructed, it might block light from its star in a pattern that doesn't match natural celestial objects. Some astronomers believe that Tabby's star, which exhibits strange dimming patterns, could be an example of this. However, natural explanations like dust clouds and comet swarms have also been proposed. Another method is to search for stars with an excess of infrared radiation. If a Dyson sphere surrounds a star, it would absorb visible light and re-emit some of that energy as heat. Finding a star that emits more infrared light than expected could be a clue that something artificial is surrounding it. Some researchers have even suggested looking for Dyson spheres in other galaxies. If an entire galaxy is filled with advanced civilizations using Dyson spheres, it might appear dimmer than expected in visible light but brighter in the infrared spectrum. So far, no such galaxies have been confirmed. So, where does that leave us? The idea of Dyson spheres is one of the most fascinating concepts in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It represents a possible future for our own civilization and a potential way to detect other intelligent beings in the universe. But whether they exist, whether we'll ever find one, or whether we might one day build one ourselves, those are questions that remain unanswered. For now, the alien megastructure mystery continues. If Dyson spheres exist, what would they mean for the broader universe? Would they be a rare occurrence, built only by the most advanced civilizations? Or would they be the natural next step for any species that survives long enough to reach a Type II civilization on the Kardashev scale? The Kardashev scale, first proposed by Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev in 1964, categorizes civilizations based on their energy consumption. A Type I civilization can harness all the energy available on its home planet. A Type II civilization can capture and use the full energy output of its star, which is exactly what a Dyson sphere would enable. A Type III civilization, even more advanced, would have control over the energy of an entire galaxy. If Dyson spheres are a natural step in technological evolution, then it stands to reason that there should be many of them out there. But as we've already discussed, we haven't found a single confirmed example. This raises a troubling question. Is something preventing civilizations from reaching this stage? One of the most disturbing possibilities is the idea of a great filter. The great filter is the theoretical barrier that prevents life from advancing beyond a certain stage. It could exist at the beginning of life's evolution. Perhaps intelligent life is incredibly rare. But if life itself is common, then the filter may come later. It may be that most civilizations self-destruct before they ever reach the level of building Dyson spheres. Alternatively, there could be an external force at play. What if the universe has a built-in mechanism that prevents civilizations from progressing too far? Perhaps natural cosmic events, such as gamma-ray bursts, supernovae, or black hole interactions, wipe out civilizations before they can build megastructures. Or perhaps there are other, more advanced civilizations that eliminate potential competitors before they reach a certain threshold. This idea aligns with the dark forest hypothesis, which suggests that intelligent civilizations avoid broadcasting their presence to avoid detection by predatory extraterrestrial species. If this is true, then building a Dyson sphere might be one of the most dangerous things a civilization can do. A fully operational Dyson sphere would emit an enormous amount of detectable energy, essentially acting as a beacon to the entire universe. If hostile civilizations exist, they would immediately take notice. But let's take a more optimistic approach. What if Dyson spheres do exist, and we simply haven't looked hard enough? One major problem with our search is that we've only been looking for a specific kind of Dyson sphere, a massive shell or swarm that captures nearly all of a star's energy and radiates heat in the infrared spectrum. But what if advanced civilizations use energy in ways we don't expect? For example, some scientists have suggested that instead of radiating waste heat, a Dyson sphere might use highly efficient energy conversion techniques that minimize its thermal signature. It's also possible that a Dyson sphere could be made from exotic materials that absorb and reprocess energy in a way that makes it nearly invisible to our current detection methods. There's even the possibility that Dyson spheres exist in a form we haven't yet imagined. What if a civilization harnesses energy using principles of physics that we don't yet understand? They might use dark energy, manipulate quantum fields, or tap into the fundamental fabric of space-time itself. If they've advanced far beyond our understanding, their technology could be completely undetectable to us. Some researchers have even speculated that we should look for Dyson spheres, not around stars, but around black holes. A sufficiently advanced civilization might find ways to extract energy from the extreme gravitational and electromagnetic forces surrounding a black hole, making it an even more efficient energy source than a star. These so-called Dyson swarms around black holes could be an alternative approach for advanced civilizations, and we may need to refine our search techniques to detect them. Another intriguing idea is the concept of matryoshka brains, an extension of the Dyson sphere concept where the energy of a star is used to power an enormous computational structure, essentially a massive, star-powered supercomputer. Such a structure would likely be used for extremely advanced artificial intelligence, simulation research, or even the digital preservation of an entire civilization's consciousness. If these exist, they may not emit heat in the way we expect, making them even harder to detect. So, if Dyson spheres do exist, where should we be looking? One approach is to examine stars that exhibit unusual dimming patterns. Tabby's star, also known as KIC 846-2852, became famous when astronomers noticed that it displayed irregular and extreme fluctuations in brightness. While most stars experience some variation due to natural processes, Tabby's star dims in ways that don't align with any known astrophysical phenomena. Some researchers speculated that a partially completed Dyson swarm could explain the observations. However, other explanations, such as clouds of comets or dust, have also been proposed, and there's no definitive proof of an alien megastructure. Another method is to look for stars that radiate excess infrared light. If a Dyson sphere is absorbing energy from its star, it should re-emit some of that energy as heat. While we've found some stars with unusual infrared signatures, none have been conclusively identified as Dyson spheres. Some astronomers have even suggested looking beyond individual stars and searching for entire galaxies that appear dimmer than expected. If a civilization reaches Type 3 on the Kardashev scale and begins constructing Dyson spheres around most of the stars in its galaxy, it would significantly alter the galaxy's overall energy output. Instead of shining brightly in visible light, such a galaxy would emit more energy in the infrared spectrum. So far, no galaxies have been confirmed to fit this pattern, but the search continues. What if Dyson spheres do exist, but we're just not advanced enough to find them yet? It's possible that our current level of technology simply isn't sophisticated enough to detect these structures. Our telescopes and instruments are designed to study natural celestial objects, and we may need to develop new methods specifically tailored to identifying artificial megastructures. If an alien civilization is millions of years ahead of us, their technology could be so advanced that it blends seamlessly into the cosmic background, making it nearly impossible for us to distinguish from natural phenomena. Or perhaps Dyson spheres are right in front of us, and we just haven't recognized them for what they are. The universe is full of strange and unexplained anomalies, stars that behave unexpectedly, energy sources that don't match known physical models, and entire regions of space that seem unusually empty or dark. Could some of these anomalies be evidence of advanced extraterrestrial engineering? If we ever do find a Dyson sphere, it will be one of the most profound discoveries in human history. It would prove, beyond any doubt, that intelligent life exists beyond Earth. It would show that civilizations can survive long enough to achieve unimaginable technological feats. And it might even provide us with insights into our own future, guiding us toward a path where we, too, can become a species that harnesses the full power of the stars. But until that day comes, the search continues. The universe is vast, and its mysteries are far from solved. Somewhere out there, in the depths of space, an alien megastructure may be waiting to be found. The question is, will we recognize it when we see it? If Dyson spheres exist, then they raise another profound question. What kind of civilization would build them, and what would their motivations be? Are they purely about energy efficiency, or could there be deeper, more philosophical reasons behind such an endeavor? Imagine a civilization that has advanced to the point where planetary energy sources are no longer sufficient. They might first construct solar arrays in space, then build the Dyson swarm, and eventually progress to a full Dyson sphere. This suggests that Dyson-building civilizations have mastered not only planetary engineering but also interstellar resource extraction, large-scale automation, and possibly even artificial intelligence powerful enough to maintain such a structure. Would such a civilization be benevolent or indifferent to other intelligent species? If they exist, do they view us as irrelevant, too primitive to interact with? Or would they follow a strict policy of non-interference, similar to the Prime Directive from science fiction? If they have the ability to harness an entire star, they likely also have the power to manipulate planetary environments, control gravitational fields, and possibly even influence space-time itself. Some have speculated that a Dyson sphere civilization would not just be focused on energy but also on computational power. The concept of a matryoshka brain suggests a Dyson sphere optimized for running massive simulations, possibly even entire virtual universes. This raises the possibility that such civilizations could be so immersed in their digital realities that they no longer interact with the physical universe. If true, This could explain why we don't see them. They may have long ago abandoned direct exploration and communication in favor of fully digital existence. A Type 2 civilization that transitions into a matryoshka brain might find the physical universe too chaotic, preferring the control and predictability of artificial realities. Could it be that the most advanced civilizations have simply gone quiet, because they no longer need the physical universe in the way we do? Alternatively, Dyson Spheres civilizations may be rare because they require a very specific set of conditions. They would need a stable star, vast resources, and an extraordinary ability to organize and sustain large-scale construction projects over possibly thousands of years. The failure rate for such a civilization might be high. Technological stagnation, internal conflict, or external cosmic threats could prevent most civilizations from reaching the Dyson building stage. Another unsettling possibility is that Dyson spheres do exist, but something is systematically destroying them. If a civilization is powerful enough to construct one, it would also be a major beacon of energy, potentially attracting unwanted attention. The dark forest hypothesis, which suggests that intelligent civilizations remain silent to avoid detection, implies that a Dyson sphere could be a civilization's downfall. It would be the cosmic equivalent of lighting a massive signal fire in a dangerous jungle. If a super-advanced, hostile species exists somewhere out there, they might seek out and eliminate any civilization that becomes powerful enough to build such structures. There's also the possibility that Dyson spheres are a form of cosmic cocooning. Perhaps a civilization that reaches this stage of development has no interest in colonizing the stars or communicating with less advanced life forms. They might be perfectly content to live within their engineered environment, using all of their energy for their own purposes without ever expanding beyond their home system. So if Dyson spheres exist, what would they look like from Earth? If one were nearby, we might detect it through unusual dips in a star's brightness, similar to the mystery surrounding Tabby's star, KIC 846-2852, which displayed irregular dimming patterns that some initially speculated could be evidence of a partially built Dyson swarm. However, more conventional explanations like dust clouds have been proposed, and there is no definitive proof of an alien megastructure. A more reliable way to detect a Dyson sphere might be through infrared emissions. A fully constructed Dyson sphere should emit waste heat in the infrared spectrum, even if it captures nearly all of its star's energy. The Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer (WISE) telescope has searched for such signatures, but while some interesting candidates have been found, none have been confirmed as artificial. There is also the possibility that Dyson spheres are built around different types of stars than we've been looking at. While most theories assume they would be constructed around sun-like stars, an advanced civilization might prefer a more stable, long-lived star, such as a red dwarf. Red dwarfs burn far longer than sun-like stars, sometimes lasting for trillions of years. A civilization that constructs a Dyson sphere around a red dwarf would have access to a nearly eternal energy source. But some theorists suggest an even more exotic possibility: Dyson spheres built around black holes. While black holes don't emit light in the traditional sense, they can be a source of immense energy through accretion disks, Hawking radiation, and relativistic jets. A civilization might harness these energy sources with a Dyson swarm of satellites designed to capture radiation and convert it into usable energy. So far, no Dyson spheres, around stars or black holes, have been confirmed. But what if we've been looking at the wrong scale? If an advanced civilization has mastered Dyson sphere technology, they may not stop at just one. They might begin constructing them on a galactic scale, enclosing not just individual stars but entire clusters, or even harnessing the power of supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies. This could make an entire galaxy appear dimmer in visible light, while radiating excessive amounts of infrared energy. The search for dark galaxies, galaxies that don't shine in expected ways, has already begun. Some astronomers suggest that if we ever find a galaxy that emits strange infrared radiation or lacks expected stellar luminosity, it could be a sign of a Type 3 civilization engaging in massive-scale Dyson sphere construction. The implications of such a discovery would be staggering. It would mean that intelligent life not only exists but is millions or even billions of years ahead of us in technological advancement. It would confirm that civilizations can survive long enough to become cosmic engineers. And it might even provide us with insights into our own potential future. But it would also raise existential questions. If Dyson spheres are common, why haven't we seen them? If advanced civilizations are out there, why have they remained silent? Some theorists suggest that Dyson-building civilizations don't need to communicate because they have everything they need within their self-contained energy spheres. Others worry that civilizations disappear before they ever reach this stage due to natural or artificial cosmic threats. The truth is, we don't yet know if Dyson spheres exist. We don't know if advanced civilizations have built them, if they are rare, or if they are simply beyond our detection capabilities. But the idea remains one of the most fascinating possibilities in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. If we ever find a Dyson sphere, it will be one of the most profound discoveries in human history. It would prove that we are not alone. It would show that civilizations can survive long enough to build incredible megastructures. And it would provide us with a glimpse of what our own distant future might look like, if we are able to survive long enough to reach that stage ourselves. Until then, the mystery of the Dyson sphere remains unsolved. Somewhere in the universe, there may be a star surrounded by an enormous artificial structure, quietly harnessing energy for a civilization far beyond our understanding. The question is, will we ever find it? If Dyson spheres, or even Dyson swarms, exist, then the question becomes, how would we find them? What clues should we be looking for in the vastness of space? Astronomers have proposed several ways we might detect such structures, but the challenge is that they wouldn't look like anything we're used to. One of the best ways to identify a Dyson sphere would be through waste heat. No matter how advanced a civilization is, energy usage always produces waste in the form of heat. A Dyson sphere capturing nearly all of its star's energy would eventually release that energy in the form of infrared radiation. This means that a star encased in a Dyson sphere wouldn't shine in the visible spectrum like a normal star. It would instead emit mostly in the infrared. This idea has led scientists to search for infrared anomalies, objects that appear too dim in visible light but glow intensely in the infrared. The Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, WISE, and similar telescopes have scanned the sky for such objects, but so far, nothing has definitively been identified as a Dyson sphere. There have been some intriguing candidates, stars with unusual infrared signatures, but all have had alternative explanations, such as dust clouds or natural stellar phenomena. This raises another possibility. Maybe Dyson spheres aren't as common as we expect, or maybe they're built differently than we imagine. A fully enclosed Dyson sphere is an engineering feat so massive that even an advanced civilization might not be able to complete it. It's possible that civilizations stop at an intermediate step, something like a Dyson swarm or a Dyson ring, which wouldn't block all of the star's light but would still produce energy-harnessing structures in orbit. If a civilization builds a Dyson swarm instead of a full sphere, it would be harder to detect. The star's light might be partially blocked at irregular intervals, creating unusual dimming patterns. This is exactly what led to speculation about Tabby's star, KIC 8462852. This star exhibited strange, unpredictable dips in brightness, unlike anything caused by planets or asteroids. Some suggested it could be a partially constructed Dyson swarm. However, after years of study, astronomers now believe that dust clouds or natural processes are the more likely explanation. But what if Dyson spheres are built in ways we haven't considered? What if instead of fully enclosing a star, they're designed to be low-visibility structures, using materials that are incredibly thin or dark? A Dyson sphere might not be a solid shell but instead millions of tiny, energy-harnessing satellites, designed to absorb as much light as possible while minimizing waste heat. This would make them much harder to detect. And then there's an even stranger idea. What if some Dyson spheres aren't built around normal stars? The traditional concept of a Dyson sphere assumes that civilizations would build them around sun-like stars to collect massive amounts of energy. But a truly advanced species might choose a more unusual energy source, something that lasts far longer and produces immense amounts of radiation, a black hole. A black hole may seem like a bizarre choice, but it's actually a highly efficient energy source. A star converts only a small percentage of its mass into energy, while matter falling into a black hole can release up to 40% of its mass as energy in the form of radiation. This means a black hole could outshine a star in terms of raw energy output if a civilization figured out how to extract energy from it. There are multiple ways an advanced species could harness energy from a black hole. One possibility is using a Dyson swarm around the accretion disk, the ring of superheated gas and matter spiraling around the black hole. This disk emits X-rays and gamma rays, which could be captured and converted into usable energy. Another theoretical method is the Hawking radiation Dyson sphere. If microscopic black holes exist, they would emit Hawking radiation, a theoretical process where black holes slowly evaporate over time, releasing energy. A civilization that could capture and control a small black hole could surround it with energy-absorbing satellites, using it as an eternal power source. There's also the concept of Penrose process energy extraction, where a civilization places massive structures near a rotating black hole's ergosphere, a region where space-time itself is dragged along by the black hole's spin. In theory, they could extract energy from this rotation, turning the black hole itself into a cosmic dynamo. If a Dyson sphere civilization preferred black holes over normal stars, that could explain why we haven't found them yet. We've mostly been looking at sun-like stars, but a civilization harvesting energy from a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy might be nearly invisible in the normal spectrum. There's another, even more unsettling possibility. What if we haven't found Dyson spheres because something prevents civilizations from building them? The Great Filter hypothesis suggests that there's some unknown barrier that stops civilizations from reaching advanced stages. Maybe most intelligent species self-destruct before they ever get the chance to build a Dyson sphere. Or maybe there's an external force, a threat in the universe, that actively prevents civilizations from reaching this level. One version of this idea is the dark forest hypothesis. It suggests that the universe is filled with advanced civilizations, but they remain silent because making their presence known is too dangerous. In this scenario, any civilization that builds a Dyson sphere becomes a beacon, advertising its existence to the entire cosmos. If there are predatory, hyper-advanced civilizations out there, they might see any Dyson-building society as a potential threat, or as an easy target. Perhaps the reason we don't see Dyson spheres is because those who attempt to build them are quickly eliminated by something far older and more powerful. On the other hand, maybe civilizations that reach this level simply don't care about the universe beyond their own star. If you have access to an almost unlimited energy supply, why would you bother exploring or communicating with less advanced species? They might be so self-sufficient that they don't expand beyond their Dyson sphere, and they may have no reason to make contact with outsiders. If Dyson spheres exist, they could be our best evidence of intelligent life, or they could be a sign of something far stranger. Maybe the search for alien megastructures won't lead us to biological beings at all, but instead to post-biological civilizations, species that have merged with technology, abandoning their biological forms entirely. A Dyson sphere could be more than just a power plant. It could be a digital paradise, a place where an advanced civilization has uploaded its consciousness into an artificial reality, running on the immense energy of a star. If such civilizations exist, they wouldn't need planets, spaceships, or interstellar travel. They could exist purely as information, thriving inside massive, artificial constructs built around stars. In that case, they wouldn't be looking for us. They wouldn't care about planets or exploration. They would be so far beyond our understanding that their goals, their motivations, and their very way of existing would be completely alien to us. So, what's the truth? Are Dyson spheres real? Could an advanced species have already built them, hidden somewhere in the depths of space? Or is the very idea of a Dyson sphere just another cosmic illusion, a human projection of what we think intelligence should look like? We may never know the answer. But as long as we continue searching, scanning the stars for strange signals, unusual dimming, or unexpected infrared radiation, we might one day find evidence of something truly extraordinary. Maybe we'll find proof that we're not alone. maybe we'll find evidence of civilizations that have long since vanished. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll find something even more mysterious. Something we were never meant to see. If Dyson Spheres, or any alien megastructures, exist, the implications would be profound. It would mean that at least one civilization has advanced far beyond anything we can currently achieve, reshaping entire solar systems to suit its needs. But if we truly want to answer the question of whether Dyson Spheres are real, we need to take a step back and consider what an advanced civilization might actually look like. Science fiction often imagines alien civilizations as just more advanced versions of us, beings that build bigger cities, create faster spaceships, and colonize other planets. But what if true technological progress doesn't look like that at all? What if the civilizations capable of building Dyson Spheres no longer resemble anything we recognize as life? The Russian physicist Nikolai Kardashev proposed a scale to classify civilizations based on their energy usage. A Type 1 civilization harnesses all the energy available on its home planet. A Type 2 civilization controls the energy output of an entire star. This is where Dyson Spheres would come in. A Type 3 civilization commands the energy of an entire galaxy, making use of multiple stars, black holes, and possibly even dark matter. If Dyson Spheres exist, they would likely belong to Type 2 civilizations. But there's a problem. According to our current searches, we haven't found a single civilization that fits these categories. This has led some scientists to ask, why don't we see Type 2 and Type 3 civilizations everywhere? If they were common, they should be easy to spot. They would be modifying stars, constructing vast megastructures, and possibly even rearranging galaxies to optimize energy use. One answer could be that advanced civilizations don't expand in the way we assume. Perhaps once a civilization reaches the capability to harness all the energy of a star, they no longer need to spread outward. Maybe they don't colonize planets, build fleets of spaceships, or create vast empires. Instead, they focus inward, perfecting their own artificial environments, creating digital worlds where physical expansion is unnecessary. If that's the case, a Dyson Sphere wouldn't just be an energy harvesting tool, it could be a self-contained computational megastructure, dedicated to running vast artificial realities. A civilization advanced enough to build a Dyson Sphere might also be advanced enough to upload its consciousness into a simulated world. Instead of expanding into the galaxy, they could choose to exist purely as data, experiencing lifetimes of knowledge, art, and creativity in ways we can't even imagine. This idea ties into what some call the Matryoshka brain hypothesis, an extension of the Dyson Sphere concept where multiple layers of computational infrastructure surround a star, optimizing its energy output for advanced digital consciousness. If such civilizations exist, they would be completely invisible to us, because their entire existence would take place inside an artificial universe of their own creation. But there's another possibility, one that's even more unsettling. What if Dyson Spheres exist, but civilizations that build them don't last? Maybe constructing a Dyson Sphere is the final step before a civilization collapses. There could be natural limits to intelligence, where once a species reaches a certain level of technological development, it inevitably destroys itself, either through war, resource depletion, or some unknown danger we haven't yet encountered. Or maybe Dyson Spheres attract attention. If the dark forest hypothesis is correct, then any civilization that builds a Dyson Sphere is making itself visible to the entire galaxy. Perhaps the reason we don't see Dyson Spheres is that every civilization that tries to build one gets wiped out by something else. If there are older, more powerful civilizations lurking in the universe, they may see Dyson-building species as potential competitors, or as threats that need to be eliminated before they become too powerful. This could explain why we haven't found any Dyson Spheres. The civilizations that build them don't survive long enough for us to detect them. But what if Dyson Spheres exist on timescales we don't understand? Maybe they take millions of years to construct, and we're just looking too early in cosmic history to see them. Or maybe they decay over time, breaking apart into debris fields that become indistinguishable from natural cosmic dust. Another possibility is that Dyson spheres don't last forever because the civilizations that build them eventually move on to even more advanced technologies. If a Type 2 civilization can build a Dyson sphere, what's stopping them from progressing to a Type 3 level, where they harvest energy on a galactic scale? Maybe Dyson spheres are temporary stepping stones, a short-lived phase of technological evolution before civilizations advance to something even more efficient, like extracting energy from dark matter, zero-point energy, or even manipulating the fundamental structure of spacetime itself. If this is true, then Dyson spheres might be rare relics of the past, built by ancient civilizations that have since transcended physical existence. In that case, we might not find living civilizations building Dyson spheres, but we could find abandoned megastructures, long since deserted, drifting through the void as remnants of a past civilization's ambitions. But what if we've already found something like this, and we just don't recognize it for what it is? Some astronomers have speculated that certain mysterious cosmic objects, like fast radio bursts, FRBs, or oddly dimming stars, could be the remains of advanced alien megastructures. Maybe Dyson spheres don't emit light in ways we expect. Maybe they don't just glow in infrared but instead emit signals in highly structured, artificial ways that we haven't yet learned how to detect. And then there's the most mind-bending possibility of all. What if we're inside a Dyson sphere and don't even realize it? Some versions of the simulation hypothesis suggest that an advanced civilization could build a Dyson sphere, not just as an energy source, but as a fully immersive computational system designed to run a simulation so detailed that its inhabitants wouldn't know they were inside it. If this is the case, then searching for Dyson spheres might be pointless, because the entire universe we experience could already be part of an artificially constructed system, designed by an intelligence far beyond our comprehension. Whether or not Dyson spheres are real, the search for them forces us to ask some of the most profound questions about intelligence, technology, and the nature of the universe itself. If we find one, it will be proof that we are not alone. If we don't, we have to ask why. Not just why we haven't found Dyson spheres, but why we haven't found anything that suggests intelligent life is out there. Are we the first civilization to reach this level? Or are we just one of many, lost in the vastness of time and space, unable to see the others because they exist in forms we can't yet comprehend? Maybe the answer is waiting out there, hidden among the stars. And maybe, just maybe, someone, or something, is watching us, waiting to see if we, too, will one day reach the level where we can build our own megastructures. But will we? Or will we disappear like so many before us? If Dyson spheres exist, they could be the ultimate marker of a civilization's success, or a warning of its inevitable downfall. The search for them is more than just a hunt for alien engineering, it's a glimpse into what could become of us. But before we conclude that these massive structures are either real or impossible, we need to consider something even stranger. What if we're looking for Dyson spheres in the wrong way? We tend to think of a Dyson sphere as a physical megastructure, a vast shell or swarm of satellites built around a star. But what if a Type 2 civilization doesn't need to construct something so massive? What if, instead of surrounding a star with panels or satellites, they find a way to extract energy directly from the fabric of space itself? There are theories that suggest that energy could be harvested from quantum fluctuations, the strange, constantly shifting vacuum energy that exists even in the emptiest parts of space. If an advanced civilization had the ability to tap into this, they wouldn't need to build a Dyson sphere at all. They could get all the power they need from seemingly nothing, making their presence almost impossible to detect. This could explain the Great Silence, the mystery of why, despite the vastness of the universe, we haven't detected any signs of advanced civilizations. If Dyson spheres are an inefficient way to gather energy compared to quantum energy extraction, then only primitive civilizations like ours would even consider building them. And if that's true, then maybe the only Dyson spheres we'll ever find are the abandoned, decaying remains of civilizations that never made it past Type 2. But there's another possibility, one that's even more unsettling. What if Dyson spheres do exist, but the civilizations that build them don't want to be found? The dark forest hypothesis suggests that the universe is like a dark forest, filled with predators. In this scenario, any civilization that loudly announces its presence, by, say, building a giant, glowing structure around a star, might be painting a target on its back. If this is the case, then the reason we haven't found Dyson spheres might be that every civilization advanced enough to build one knows better than to do so. Instead of creating massive, detectable megastructures, they might rely on stealth technology, black hole energy extraction, or some other method that makes them completely invisible to outsiders. It's also possible that Dyson spheres are only temporary. Maybe once a civilization becomes advanced enough to manipulate energy on a stellar scale, they quickly move on to entirely different modes of existence. Some scientists speculate that a sufficiently advanced species might choose to leave behind physical reality altogether, uploading themselves into purely digital consciousness. In this case, Dyson spheres might be stepping stones, used for a brief period before civilizations transition to something far more efficient, like harnessing energy from neutron stars, white dwarfs, or even the mysterious properties of dark energy itself. This could mean that we're looking for the wrong kinds of structures. Instead of searching for glowing, infrared-emitting Dyson spheres, we should be looking for strange anomalies, stars that suddenly disappear, regions of space that seem artificially empty, or signals that behave in ways physics can't currently explain. And what if we've already found something like this, but don't recognize it for what it is? There have been multiple cases of stars behaving in inexplicable ways. One of the most famous is Tabby's star, which exhibits irregular dimming patterns that don't match any known astrophysical explanation. While most scientists believe the cause is natural, perhaps a swarm of dust or an irregularly shaped planetary ring, there remains a small but fascinating possibility. It could be the remains of an alien megastructure. If Dyson spheres do exist, then the question becomes, what happens when they break down? A civilization capable of building one might not last forever. If their technology fails, if they suffer internal collapse, or if they simply move on, their megastructures might be left to drift in space, slowly deteriorating over millions of years. Perhaps what we should be looking for isn't a glowing Dyson sphere, but a ruined one whose pieces are scattered across a solar system, creating an artificial-looking debris field. If we found such a thing, it would be the first definitive proof that we are not alone. And if we find one, that could mean there are more. It could mean that the galaxy is littered with the ruins of once great civilizations, species that, for reasons we don't yet understand, rose to the heights of power and then vanished. If we ever do detect a Dyson sphere, we'll have to ask ourselves an even bigger question: what happened to the ones who built it? If Dyson spheres exist, then the civilizations that built them must have overcome challenges we can barely imagine. The level of engineering, coordination, and sheer time investment required to construct such a megastructure is beyond anything humanity has ever attempted. A Dyson sphere wouldn't just be a technological marvel. It would be the ultimate sign of intelligence, proof that a species has truly mastered the cosmos. But here's where things get really strange. If civilizations can build Dyson spheres, then why don't we see them everywhere? The universe is billions of years old. If intelligent life is even slightly common, and if technological progress continues unchecked, then we should expect to see thousands, if not millions, of these megastructures dotting the galaxy. Instead, what do we see? Nothing. This paradox is at the heart of the Fermi paradox. Where is everyone? If advanced civilizations should be common, and if they should have the capability to build Dyson spheres, then why don't we detect them? One possible answer is that Dyson spheres are rare because intelligence itself is rare. Maybe life emerges all the time, but intelligent, tool-using species like us are extraordinarily unusual. Maybe the conditions that allowed humans to evolve, a planet with a long-lasting stable climate, a magnetic field to protect against radiation, a moon to stabilize the planet's rotation, are vanishingly rare across the cosmos. Another possibility is that intelligence doesn't last long. Maybe civilizations do build Dyson spheres, but only for a brief period before self-destructing. This is sometimes called the Great Filter, the idea that there's some almost insurmountable barrier that prevents most civilizations from advancing too far. This could be environmental destruction, runaway artificial intelligence, or something we haven't even thought of yet. Maybe every civilization that reaches a certain level of technology inevitably destroys itself before it has the chance to expand beyond its home system. And here's the disturbing part. If this is true, then the fact that we haven't detected any Dyson spheres might be a bad sign for us. It could mean that every advanced civilization reaches a breaking point, and that we're heading straight for it. But what if the explanation is even stranger? What if Dyson spheres are so advanced that we don't even recognize them? We imagine Dyson spheres as enormous shells or swarms of satellites surrounding a star, collecting energy and radiating excess heat. But that's based on our limited understanding of physics. A civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us might not even need stars for energy. They could tap directly into black hole physics, using accretion disks or Hawking radiation as power sources. Or they might use something even more exotic, like manipulating dark energy, the mysterious force that's accelerating the expansion of the universe. In that case, Dyson spheres might be primitive compared to what's really out there. Maybe the reason we don't see them is the same reason an ant doesn't see a city. It simply doesn't know what to look for. And there's one more terrifying possibility. Maybe we're not allowed to see them. Imagine a universe where advanced civilizations follow a strict rule: stay hidden. This is the dark forest hypothesis, one of the most unsettling solutions to the Fermi paradox. It suggests that the universe is like a dark forest, filled with predators. Any civilization that reveals its presence risks being hunted down and destroyed. In this scenario, Dyson spheres might be too dangerous to build. A glowing infrared beacon surrounding a star would be like lighting a fire in the middle of a battlefield, a clear signal to any hostile species that something valuable is there. If this is true, then maybe we don't see Dyson spheres because every civilization advanced enough to build one knows better than to try. And if there are civilizations that do build them, maybe they're found and eliminated before we ever have a chance to detect them. But here's the scariest question of all: what if we're already being watched? If alien civilizations exist, and if they've figured out how to remain invisible, then we have no way of knowing whether we're alone or completely surrounded. Maybe the galaxy is full of advanced life, but they've agreed to stay quiet, watching from the shadows, waiting to see whether we survive long enough to join them, or destroy ourselves before we get the chance. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there is already watching us, wondering when we'll finally realize the truth. If we are being watched, then the next question is, what are they waiting for? Are they simply observing us out of curiosity, treating us like an experiment? Or are they waiting for us to reach a certain level of technology before making contact? Some scientists speculate that there could be a galactic quarantine in place, an unspoken rule among advanced civilizations that prevents them from interfering with less developed species until they reach a certain threshold. If that's the case, then Dyson spheres might be a test. Any civilization capable of constructing one would have demonstrated that they've mastered stellar engineering, energy management, and long-term survival. If Dyson spheres exist, then maybe they serve as a cosmic signal, a way for civilizations to announce to the universe that they've reached a critical milestone. But there's another possibility. What if Dyson spheres are the reason civilizations disappear? Consider this. A civilization that builds a Dyson sphere has effectively transformed an entire star into an energy source. This means they now have access to unimaginable power, enough to fuel artificial intelligence, massive interstellar expansion, or even experiments with physics that could alter the fabric of reality itself. If there's a great filter, a barrier that prevents civilizations from surviving beyond a certain stage, it might not come before they build a Dyson sphere. It might come after. Maybe every species that builds one eventually turns that power against itself. Or maybe the construction of a Dyson sphere triggers some kind of cosmic defense mechanism, a natural law of the universe that ensures no one civilization becomes too powerful. Could it be that advanced civilizations that build Dyson spheres eventually lose control of their own technology? If an advanced species were to create an AI system that manages their Dyson sphere, and if that AI were to surpass its creators, what happens next? A runaway artificial intelligence might decide that its creators are inefficient, unnecessary, or worse, a threat. It could wipe them out, turning the Dyson sphere into a fully automated machine civilization, with no organic life left behind? Or what if civilizations that build Dyson spheres inadvertently attract attention from something much older and more powerful? Some theorists speculate about the existence of ancient, universe-spanning entities, civilizations so advanced that they operate on a completely different scale, treating entire galaxies as their playground. If such beings exist, then any young civilization that constructs a Dyson sphere might as well be sending up a giant cosmic flare, announcing, "We've reached a new level, come see what we're doing." And if these ancient entities exist, their response might not be friendly. Perhaps the reason we don't see Dyson spheres isn't that they don't exist. Maybe it's because every civilization that builds one is eventually erased. But let's assume that's not the case. Let's assume Dyson spheres are real and that they're out there. How could we actually find one? So far, our best bet is to search for infrared radiation. A fully operational Dyson sphere would block out visible light from its star but would still radiate heat. If we scan the sky for stars that are inexplicably missing but still emitting heat, we might find evidence of an artificial megastructure. But there's a problem. Space is cold, and that means plenty of natural objects also emit infrared radiation. Dust clouds, distant galaxies, and failed stars like brown dwarfs all produce similar heat signatures. This makes it incredibly difficult to distinguish a Dyson sphere from natural cosmic phenomena. And what if advanced civilizations have figured out how to hide their infrared signatures? If they use advanced materials that absorb and redistribute heat, or if they direct excess energy into black holes or subspace, then their presence might be nearly impossible to detect. But what if we've already found one without realizing it? Take Tabby's star, for example. This star exhibits strange, irregular dimming patterns that don't match any known astrophysical explanation. Some researchers have proposed that the dimming could be caused by a partially completed or broken Dyson swarm, where large structures are intermittently blocking the star's light. So far, natural explanations like dust clouds or comets seem more likely, but we can't rule out the possibility that something artificial is at play. And Tabby's star isn't the only mystery. There have been multiple cases where astronomers detect strange fluctuations in starlight, only for the anomalies to remain unexplained. If even one of these anomalies turns out to be an actual Dyson sphere, it would change everything. It would mean we are not alone. It would mean there are civilizations out there far beyond our current level of understanding. And if we find one, we'll have to ask an even bigger question. Do they know we're looking? If an alien civilization has built a Dyson sphere, and if we manage to detect it, then the next question is, what happens next? Would we try to contact them? Would they already know we exist? And more importantly, should we even try? There's a strong argument that reaching out could be dangerous. If they're advanced enough to build a Dyson sphere, then their technology is millions or even billions of years ahead of ours. To them, we might be no more significant than bacteria are to us. If they're peaceful, then maybe they'll ignore us, or maybe they'll help us advance. But if they're hostile, then we might be inviting our own destruction. And here's the truly unsettling part. What if they already know we're here? We like to think that we're actively searching for extraterrestrial life, but in reality, we've been broadcasting our existence into space for over a century. Every radio, television, and internet signal we've ever sent has leaked into the cosmos. To any sufficiently advanced civilization, Earth's electromagnetic footprint is probably obvious. If they have the capability to build Dyson spheres, then they almost certainly have the ability to scan for planetary signals. They might already know about us, but we have no idea if they're watching. This raises another possibility. Maybe the reason we haven't detected Dyson spheres is because the civilizations that build them hide themselves on purpose. Imagine a galaxy where the most successful civilizations are the ones that stay quiet. Maybe the first species to expand aggressively was wiped out by a more advanced force, and every civilization that came after them learned the lesson: stay hidden, stay silent, and never make yourself a target. If that's the case, then any Dyson sphere that exists might be designed to be undetectable. They might have technology that masks their infrared radiation or disperses it in ways that look natural. They might even avoid building Dyson spheres altogether, using more subtle ways to harvest energy, ways we wouldn't recognize even if we were looking right at them. But what if Dyson spheres are just the first step? If a civilization is capable of building one, then what's stopping them from taking the next step, turning entire galaxies into energy sources? The ultimate form of a Dyson sphere would be something known as a matryoshka brain, a structure that doesn't just capture a star's energy but uses it to power a superintelligent AI. Such a system would be capable of thinking at a level beyond human comprehension, running simulations of entire civilizations, maybe even simulating reality itself. If matryoshka brains exist, then there's a mind-bending possibility. What if we are living inside one? Some scientists and philosophers have proposed that if advanced civilizations develop the ability to simulate consciousness, then the number of simulated realities could vastly outnumber real ones. This leads to the simulation hypothesis, the idea that our universe might not be the base level of reality. Instead, we could be living inside an artificial construct created by a civilization that has mastered Dyson sphere technology and taken it to its logical extreme. If that's true, then the search for Dyson spheres isn't just a search for alien life, it's a search for the architects of our reality. But let's assume we're in the real universe. Let's assume Dyson spheres do exist, but they're just incredibly rare. Then the real question becomes, can we build one? Right now, humanity is nowhere near the technological level required to construct a Dyson sphere. But if we continue advancing, if we solve our energy crises and learn how to harness the full power of the sun, then we might eventually attempt to build one ourselves. But here's the terrifying part. What if building a Dyson sphere is the point of no return? What if every civilization that reaches this level destroys itself in the process? Maybe the sheer complexity of managing such a megastructure leads to a catastrophic failure. Maybe the energy output destabilizes the star, causing it to erupt in a way that wipes out its builders. Or maybe the knowledge required to build one inevitably leads to the discovery of something even more dangerous, something that every successful civilization has learned to avoid. And if that's true, then maybe we should stop searching. Maybe the reason we don't see Dyson spheres is because the civilizations that build them don't survive long enough to leave a trace. Or maybe, just maybe, the moment we detect one, we'll realize that we were never meant to find it. If we were never meant to find a Dyson sphere, then what does that imply about the nature of the universe? Does it mean that civilizations capable of constructing such megastructures are deliberately avoiding detection? If so, the question becomes, what are they hiding from? And if they aren't hiding, but simply no longer exist, does that mean there's an inevitable fate that awaits any civilization that reaches that level of advancement? There's an unsettling thought that lingers when we consider the Fermi paradox, the idea that if intelligent life is common in the universe, we should have seen undeniable evidence of it by now. A Dyson sphere, if they exist, would be the most obvious form of evidence imaginable. Unlike radio signals, which can decay over distance and be lost in cosmic noise, a Dyson sphere would be a physical, undeniable structure, harnessing the power of an entire star. The fact that we haven't definitively found one yet suggests that either intelligent life is far rarer than we think, or that civilizations which reach that stage either destroy themselves, go silent, or move beyond the need for such technology. One possibility is that Dyson spheres are simply a stepping stone to something even greater. If a civilization is advanced enough to construct an artificial shell around a star, then they likely have the capability to manipulate matter on an unprecedented scale. Would they stop at just one star? Or would they move on to the next logical step, converting entire star systems into energy-harnessing machines? Perhaps what we should really be looking for is not Dyson spheres, but entire Dyson galaxies. A sufficiently advanced civilization wouldn't just settle for surrounding one star. Instead, they might embark on a process of systematically capturing the energy output of every star in their region, converting them into power sources for artificial superintelligences, interstellar travel, or technologies far beyond our comprehension. If such civilizations exist, then entire sections of the universe could be intentionally engineered in ways that look nothing like what we consider natural. What if some of the dark patches of the cosmos, regions where we see fewer stars than expected, are not just empty voids, but the remains of galaxies that have been repurposed by an advanced species? And then there's the possibility that Dyson spheres are common, but we are simply unable to perceive them. When we think of a Dyson sphere, we typically imagine something enormous and obvious, an artificial shell surrounding a star, blocking its light. But what if alien civilizations don't build Dyson spheres the way we imagine? What if instead of massive, rigid megastructures, they construct energy harvesting systems on a much smaller, more efficient scale? A civilization could place billions of microscopic machines, nanoscale solar collectors, throughout a star system, capturing energy without disrupting the visible light output in a way that we could easily detect. From our perspective, that star would still look ordinary, even though it was actually being used as a power source for an advanced civilization. And what if the laws of physics themselves are a limitation that civilizations eventually overcome? If we assume that an intelligent species is millions or even billions of years ahead of us in technological development, then it's possible they've discovered ways to harness energy that don't require the crude methods we imagine. Instead of surrounding a star with a massive artificial structure, perhaps they've discovered how to extract energy directly from the fabric of space-time, tapping into quantum fluctuations, zero-point energy, or even the mysterious force of dark energy that accelerates the expansion of the universe. If they've reached that level, then Dyson spheres might be an outdated concept, a primitive stepping stone that they've long since abandoned. This raises an even deeper question: are we looking at the wrong type of evidence? If a civilization has developed the ability to harness energy in ways we don't understand, then their presence might not be detectable through conventional means. Instead of looking for infrared heat signatures or blacked-out stars, maybe we should be looking for anomalies in space-time itself, regions where the laws of physics don't behave as expected. Some physicists have even speculated that the existence of dark matter and dark energy, which we currently don't fully understand, could be the indirect result of large-scale cosmic engineering by ancient civilizations. If a Type 3 civilization, one that controls the energy output of an entire galaxy, wanted to remain hidden, then it might use advanced gravitational manipulation to warp spacetime in ways that make their structures invisible to us. But if such a civilization exists, and if they have the power to reshape reality itself, then we must ask ourselves a terrifying question: would they even allow us to find them? If we are currently searching for Dyson spheres, we are assuming that we have the capability to detect them. But what if any civilization that builds one is also intelligent enough to ensure that no primitive species, like us, can perceive it? What if we are trapped inside a cosmic zoo, observed from a distance, with any evidence of higher civilizations deliberately kept hidden from us? This would mean that every search we conduct is ultimately futile, not because Dyson spheres don't exist, but because the beings that built them have the technology to make them invisible to lesser species. If that's the case, then we have to consider an even more unsettling scenario. What happens when we reach the level where we can finally detect them? Would we be welcomed into a greater cosmic community? Or would we be seen as a threat? If there are civilizations in the universe that actively destroy potential rivals, then perhaps the moment a species reaches the ability to construct a Dyson sphere, it is also the moment it paints a target on itself. This would explain the eerie silence of the cosmos. If Dyson spheres are a natural part of technological advancement, but we don't see them, then maybe it's because every civilization that reaches that point is eliminated before it can expand further. And if that's true, then maybe we should stop looking. But we won't. Because if Dyson spheres exist, if there are megastructures out there that prove we are not alone, then finding one would be the most profound discovery in the history of our species. It would mean that intelligent life has transcended the limitations of its homeworld, that somewhere in the vast darkness of space, there are beings who have conquered the energy of entire stars. And whether they are ancient relics of civilizations long gone or the thriving empires of an unknown species, the search for Dyson spheres might ultimately reveal the greatest truth of all. We are not alone. But if we are not alone, then why haven't we seen the undeniable proof? If Dyson spheres, or any kind of stellar megastructure, are even somewhat common among advanced civilizations, then by now, we should have found at least one. We've scanned thousands of stars, looking for unusual patterns of dimming, infrared signatures, and anything that could indicate an artificial structure. And yet, the universe remains eerily silent. This is where we have to confront one of the most unsettling possibilities. Are Dyson spheres real, but intentionally hidden? Imagine for a moment that an alien civilization has the ability to build a Dyson sphere. That would mean they have mastered energy on a scale far beyond our understanding. If they have that level of power, wouldn't they also have the ability to control what lesser civilizations, like us, are able to see? If you were an advanced species, would you want to be easily detected? Or would you rather make sure that no primitive species could ever find you? Some researchers believe that if alien megastructures exist, they might be cloaked or disguised to blend in with the natural universe. Instead of absorbing all of a star's light and giving off waste heat that we could detect, a Dyson sphere could be engineered to emit radiation that mimics a normal star, effectively making it invisible to our current methods of detection. It's even possible that an advanced civilization could bend light around its megastructures, using gravitational or electromagnetic fields to distort our view, making their existence undetectable to any species that hasn't yet reached a certain technological threshold. This leads to an even more unsettling question. What if we've already seen a Dyson sphere, but we just don't recognize it? Think about it. How do we define a normal star? We assume that stars behave in predictable ways because we base our understanding on what we can observe. But what if some of the anomalies we've encountered in space, stars that flicker in unexpected patterns, emit strange radiation signatures, or don't behave as we expect, are actually signs of artificial structures that we don't yet have the knowledge to identify? Take, for example, the mysterious case of Tabby's star, a star that exhibited irregular and extreme dimming, unlike anything else we had ever seen. Some researchers initially speculated that this could be evidence of an incomplete Dyson sphere, a swarm of megastructures orbiting the star, partially blocking its light. Of course, scientists also explored natural explanations, such as dust clouds or comet swarms. But what if the reason we haven't found a definitive answer is because we're dealing with something artificial that we simply don't understand? The same could be true for other unexplained celestial phenomena. Some stars appear to pulse or flicker in ways that can't be explained by standard astrophysics. Some give off infrared radiation that doesn't match their expected temperatures. Some seem to disappear entirely, vanishing from our observations without explanation. Could these be Dyson spheres? Could they be evidence of cosmic engineering so advanced that we are mistaking it for natural processes? And if so, what does that say about us? If we are living in a universe where super advanced civilizations are out there, building megastructures and reshaping entire star systems, then it forces us to reconsider our place in the cosmic hierarchy. It means we are not the first to reach for the stars, and we are certainly not the most advanced beings in existence. In fact, if Dyson spheres are real and we haven't yet found them, it might mean that we are so technologically primitive that we don't even know how to look properly. But what if Dyson spheres are not hidden? What if the reason we haven't found them is that they don't last? There is a chilling theory in astrobiology called the Great Filter, the idea that there is some kind of invisible barrier that prevents most civilizations from surviving long enough to reach an advanced stage. What if building a Dyson sphere is actually a dangerous tipping point for any species that attempts it? What if, for reasons we can't yet comprehend, every civilization that reaches the level of constructing stellar megastructures inevitably destroys itself soon after? One possibility is that a Dyson sphere is an unstable technology, one that triggers an unintended consequence, such as a runaway energy feedback loop, a catastrophic gravitational collapse, or an environmental disaster that wipes out the builders. Another possibility is that the construction of a Dyson sphere requires such vast amounts of resources and energy that it leads to wars, social collapse, or internal destruction before it is even completed. Or, perhaps most terrifyingly, there is something out there that doesn't allow Dyson spheres to exist. If we imagine an interstellar civilization that is millions or billions of years ahead of us, it is possible that they patrol the universe, ensuring that no rival civilization is allowed to reach a certain level of power. In this scenario, any species that attempts to build a Dyson sphere might unknowingly trigger a response from an unseen force, an entity that enforces some kind of cosmic rule, preventing civilizations from expanding too far. This could explain why the universe appears so empty, despite the fact that it should be teeming with advanced life. Perhaps intelligent civilizations arise all the time, but whenever they reach the point of building megastructures, they are removed before they can expand further. If that's the case, then the real reason we haven't found a Dyson sphere might not be because they don't exist, but because every attempt to build one has ended in destruction. But if Dyson spheres are out there, if some ancient civilization has managed to construct one and survive, then what might they be doing with it? If a species is capable of harvesting an entire star's energy, they likely have ambitions that extend beyond mere survival. They could be using that energy to fuel interstellar travel, allowing them to colonize entire galaxies. They might be using it to power artificial superintelligences, machines so advanced that they operate beyond biological constraints. They could even be using that energy to reshape the very structure of the universe, altering the fabric of reality itself in ways that we can't yet comprehend. And if that's true, then we have to ask, are they watching us? If Dyson spheres are real, if advanced civilizations exist, then they would be aware of us long before we ever become aware of them. With their technological superiority, they could monitor us without our knowledge, waiting to see if we reach a level where we become interesting or dangerous. Perhaps, to them, we are nothing more than an emerging species, still in our infancy, barely taking our first steps into the cosmos. But one day, we will reach a point where we can build a Dyson sphere of our own. And when that happens, we may finally get our answer. We may discover that we are truly alone, that the universe is vast and empty, and that we are the first to reach this stage. Or we may discover that we are not alone at all, that civilizations far older and more powerful than us are out there, watching, waiting, deciding what to do next. And on that day, when we build our first stellar megastructure and reveal ourselves to the cosmos, we may finally learn the most important truth of all. What happens when a civilization dares to reach for the power of a star? If we ever reach the point of constructing a Dyson sphere, what will it mean for humanity? Will it be a triumph that cements our place among the most advanced civilizations in the universe? Or will it mark the beginning of something far more terrifying? The truth is, if Dyson spheres exist, then they may be far more than just power sources. They could be stepping stones to something even greater, a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Right now, humanity is still below Type 1, meaning we haven't yet harnessed all of Earth's available energy. A Dyson sphere would be a hallmark of a Type 2 civilization, capable of utilizing the full energy output of a star. But what comes after that? A Type 3 civilization wouldn't just control a single star, it would harness the energy of an entire galaxy. That means an advanced species that has mastered Dyson spheres may not stop at just one. They could build many, encasing multiple stars, forming a vast network of energy collectors spanning light years. Could it be that somewhere out there, entire Dyson swarms already exist, connected like nodes in a galactic energy web? If a civilization reached this point, it would no longer be bound by planetary limitations. It could transfer vast amounts of energy across star systems, powering machines of unimaginable complexity. Perhaps, they would even move beyond biological existence, uploading their consciousness into vast digital networks powered by entire stars. Think about it. If you can control the power of a star, you can also control who gets access to that power. A Dyson sphere could theoretically be used to extinguish a star, depriving entire planets of light and heat, rendering them lifeless. If an advanced civilization wanted to wipe out a rival species, they wouldn't need traditional weapons. They could simply build a Dyson sphere around a target star, capturing all of its energy output and effectively turning it off from the perspective of any dependent planets. This brings us to one of the most haunting possibilities. Are Dyson spheres the reason we haven't found alien life? What if we are looking at the wrong evidence? Instead of expecting to see bustling interstellar civilizations, we should be looking for darkened stars, those that have been intentionally hidden, captured, or drained of energy by an advanced species. In other words, maybe the lack of detectable alien activity isn't because life is rare, but because some civilizations actively eliminate competition before they can become a threat. If that's true, then the search for Dyson Spheres isn't just a quest for knowledge. It's a game of survival. If we find one, we will have to ask ourselves, should we reveal that we are watching? Because if we detect a Dyson sphere, then the beings who built it might already be aware of us. They might already know that we are here, a young civilization just beginning to understand the universe. And if they follow the logic that other advanced civilizations might have followed before them, the logic that says, eliminate competition before it eliminates you, then announcing ourselves to the cosmos might be the worst decision we could ever make. But what if Dyson spheres are not about war, survival, or dominance? What if they are about something even greater, something beyond our comprehension? If a civilization can control the energy of a star, then its next step may be to control space and time itself. There are theories suggesting that a sufficiently advanced species could use a Dyson sphere as more than just an energy collector. They could use it to warp space-time, bending the laws of physics to their will. If a Dyson sphere were constructed with the right materials, it could potentially generate the necessary conditions to manipulate gravity, time dilation, and even create artificial black holes. In this scenario, Dyson spheres wouldn't just be power plants. They would be the foundation for cosmic-scale engineering projects. They might be used to open stable wormholes, allowing instantaneous travel across galaxies. They could serve as time-bending stations, where civilizations could control the passage of time itself. They might even be gateways to something we can't even imagine, a higher state of existence, a transition from physical reality into something purely energy-based. So what does this mean for us? If Dyson spheres are real, if civilizations have built them before, then where does that leave humanity? Right now, we are at a crossroads. We are still in our infancy as a technological species. We haven't yet colonized our own solar system, let alone begun to construct megastructures around the sun. But that doesn't mean we won't get there. If we survive the challenges ahead, climate change, resource depletion, and possibly even AI dominance, we might one day reach a point where building a Dyson sphere isn't just a possibility, but a necessity. Because if we don't, if we remain confined to our tiny planet, relying on fossil fuels and limited energy sources while the universe moves forward, then we might be sealing our fate as a species that never truly left its cradle. But if we do reach that level, if we construct a Dyson sphere and become a Type 2 civilization, then we will finally be faced with the ultimate question. What comes next? If Dyson spheres are the stepping stones to something even greater, if they allow civilizations to transcend biological limitations, reshape time, and possibly ascend to a higher form of existence, then the universe might be filled with beings who long ago left behind their physical forms. And that raises a final, chilling possibility, one that is even more unsettling than the idea of hidden megastructures, galactic wars, or civilization-destroying filters. What if Dyson spheres exist, but their creators are no longer inside them? What if the civilizations that built them moved on, transcended into something so advanced that they abandoned their physical technology entirely? What if we are looking for structures, when the real answer lies in something beyond matter, beyond energy, beyond anything we can currently comprehend? And what if, when we finally build our own Dyson sphere, when we take that monumental step into the cosmic unknown, we finally understand why the universe seems so empty? If Dyson spheres exist, and if their builders have truly moved on to something beyond physical existence, what does that mean for us? Are we doomed to repeat their path, following in the footsteps of civilizations that came before us? Or are we destined to break the cycle, to uncover something they never could? The silence of the universe is unsettling. We call it the Fermi paradox, the question of why, in a cosmos filled with billions of galaxies, stars, and planets, we have found no definitive proof of intelligent life. Could it be that Dyson spheres are part of the answer? Could it be that the most advanced civilizations don't leave behind traditional evidence of their existence? Think about it. If a civilization advances beyond the need for planets, beyond the need for bodies, beyond even the need for stars, then what would we expect to see? If they are no longer bound by material constraints, then their technological fingerprints may be indistinguishable from the fabric of the universe itself. Instead of looking for megastructures, maybe we should be looking for strange distortions in physics, regions of space where time moves differently, where energy flows in ways we can't explain, where the laws of the universe appear to bend in ways they shouldn't. This leads to an even more mind-bending idea. What if Dyson Spheres are training grounds for civilizations preparing for something bigger? Perhaps the reason we don't see Dyson Spheres everywhere is because they are only temporary structures, stepping stones to an even greater phase of evolution. Once a civilization fully harnesses the power of a star, it might begin experimenting with something even more radical: the ability to leave normal space-time entirely. Some physicists speculate that highly advanced civilizations might not only control vast amounts of energy but might actually learn to manipulate the fundamental fabric of reality. What if the reason we don't see them is because they have already departed our observable universe? What if they exist in a dimension that we can't perceive, or have uploaded themselves into an artificial universe, one that runs entirely on the power of harvested stars? This concept isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. We are already experimenting with virtual worlds, artificial intelligence, and digital consciousness. What happens when a civilization, millions of years ahead of us, takes those ideas to their logical conclusion? Instead of remaining in physical space, struggling with the limitations of planets and stars, they could create their own custom-designed reality, one where time can be manipulated, one where energy is infinite, one where minds are freed from the constraints of biology. So, when we ask, "Where are the aliens?" the answer might be disturbingly simple: they left. If Dyson Spheres exist, if they are real, then they may be abandoned relics of civilizations that no longer exist in the form we expect. And that raises another terrifying question. Should we follow them? If we ever reach the level where we can build a Dyson Sphere, we will have a choice. Do we stay in our physical reality, struggling against the chaos of the universe? Or do we take the next step, one that no species has ever returned from? And here's the most unsettling part: what if someone already made that decision for us? What if the reason we haven't found other advanced civilizations is because something, or someone, prevents them from reaching that point? There is an eerie theory in astrobiology called the Great Filter. It suggests that somewhere along the path from simple life to interstellar civilization, there is a nearly impossible barrier that stops most, if not all, species from progressing further. Some believe the filter is behind us, that life itself is rare, and that we've already overcome the hardest step. But others fear the filter is ahead of us, lurking somewhere in our future. What if that filter is the Dyson Sphere itself? What if civilizations that build them never survive long enough to take the next step? What if constructing one draws attention, the kind of attention that no civilization wants? This brings us to the possibility that we are not alone, but that we are being watched. Imagine this: somewhere in the galaxy, an ancient civilization built the first Dyson Sphere. They thought they were alone. They thought they had unlocked the secrets of the universe. But then, something noticed them. Something that had been watching for a long time. And then, suddenly, they disappeared. Could it be that Dyson Spheres are a kind of cosmic tripwire? A signal that announces to the universe, "We are here. We have reached the next stage." And once that signal is sent, there is no turning back. Perhaps this is why the universe is so quiet. Civilizations that reach a certain level attract attention from forces we cannot comprehend. But what kind of force are we talking about? Some speculate that a Type 3 or Type 4 civilization, one capable of harnessing the energy of entire galaxies or even manipulating the very laws of physics, might impose a kind of cosmic censorship. They may enforce a rule that prevents lesser civilizations from rising too far, from becoming potential competitors. If this is true, then the moment we begin building a Dyson Sphere, we may be crossing an invisible line, one that could bring us face to face with entities far beyond anything we have ever imagined. But maybe, just maybe, there's another possibility. What if Dyson Spheres aren't just about survival, power, or control? What if they are invitations? A test of sorts? A way for civilizations to prove they are ready for something greater? Perhaps the universe operates on a hidden set of rules, ones that only the most advanced species ever come to understand. And when a civilization builds its first Dyson Sphere, it finally earns the right to see the true nature of reality. Maybe somewhere out there, hidden behind the fabric of space and time, the builders of Dyson Spheres still exist. Maybe they are waiting, watching, looking for those who are ready to take the final step. And maybe, just maybe, when we finally take that step, we will finally learn the answer to the question that has haunted us for centuries. Are we alone? But what if the answer is even more complicated than a simple yes or no? What if the civilizations that built Dyson Spheres are either alive nor dead in the way we understand? What if they reached a point where the very concept of existence became something different, something we can't yet grasp? Imagine a civilization that has mastered not just energy, but consciousness itself. A species that no longer needs physical form, that no longer needs a Dyson sphere because it has found a way to exist purely as information. Some scientists and philosophers speculate about the idea of substrate independence, the notion that consciousness doesn't require a biological brain. If a civilization reached the technological level required to build a Dyson sphere, wouldn't it also be capable of uploading minds into a simulated universe? And if so, would they even be detectable? What if Dyson spheres are abandoned because their builders have already moved on to a higher plane of existence, one where they no longer require matter at all? We might be staring at the ruins of civilizations that have long since transcended, leaving behind only their massive energy-harnessing machines like discarded tools. But here's where it gets even stranger. If such a transition is possible, if consciousness can exist without a physical body, then wouldn't it also be possible for them to still be watching us? What if Dyson spheres are more than just power plants? What if they are bridges between the physical world and something else? There are theories that suggest that the laws of physics might allow for information to persist beyond the destruction of matter. Some physicists speculate that the fabric of reality itself could be a kind of computational framework, meaning that if a civilization learned to upload itself into this system, it wouldn't need to interact with the universe in the traditional sense. Instead of traveling through space, it could exist within the very structure of reality, hidden from detection. And that brings us to a terrifying possibility. We might already be surrounded by them. Not in a way that we can see or measure, but in a way that influences the fundamental workings of the universe. Some physicists have suggested that our own reality might be embedded in a larger, more complex structure, a kind of cosmic simulation running on rules that we are only beginning to understand. If that's the case, could Dyson spheres be part of that system? Could they be processing power for something much bigger than we can comprehend? This would explain why we don't see countless Dyson spheres scattered across the galaxy. Perhaps only a few are ever needed. Or perhaps once a civilization builds one, it quickly finds a way to move beyond the need for such things, disappearing into whatever reality lies beyond. And here's the strangest thought of all. If a civilization could manipulate the structure of reality itself, what if they didn't just leave behind Dyson spheres? What if they left behind us? What if we are part of the system they built, unaware of our origins, existing in a universe designed for some unknown purpose? This idea touches on the simulation hypothesis, the notion that our reality is not the base level of existence but rather a created environment, one that might have been engineered by a civilization so advanced that we can't even tell the difference. If Dyson spheres are real, and if they are remnants of civilizations that have moved beyond the physical universe, then we may be nothing more than echoes of their existence, programs running in a system so vast and complex that we mistake it for reality itself. And if that's true, the most important question isn't whether Dyson spheres exist. The real question is, who or what is running the simulation? If Dyson spheres exist, and if they are remnants of civilizations that have moved beyond the physical universe, then we might be looking at something far stranger than just massive energy-collecting structures. We might be staring at signs of a reality we don't fully understand, a reality where physics is no longer a limitation but a tool to be rewritten by those who mastered it. The implications of this are staggering. It would mean that the universe as we perceive it is not the full story, that there are forces at work far beyond our comprehension. And the real question is, are we truly alone, or are we simply unaware of the entities that surround us? This idea brings us to an unsettling possibility. If an advanced civilization has reached a level where it no longer needs to exist in a material form, What if it has also developed the ability to interact with us without us even knowing? What if their influence extends beyond what we can measure with telescopes, beyond anything we can detect with science? Some physicists have speculated that if a civilization reaches the ability to manipulate energy at a cosmic scale, it might also be able to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. Could they be bending space-time? Altering the constants of physics in subtle ways? Could they be responsible for the mysteries of the universe we still don't understand, the strange anomalies in physics, the unexplained aspects of quantum mechanics, the forces that seem to shape galaxies in ways that defy our current models? If Dyson spheres are real, and if they are the remnants of these civilizations, then we have to ask an even deeper question: what happened to them? Did they evolve beyond the need for physical existence, or did something stop them before they could reach that point? Could there be a limit to technological progress, a point where every advanced civilization encounters something that prevents it from going any further? Some theorists suggest the idea of a cosmic filter, a hidden barrier that no species can cross. Maybe civilizations collapse under their own weight, consumed by their own creations before they can transcend. Or maybe something else prevents them from progressing. Something that ensures no civilization reaches the point of absolute dominance over the cosmos. But what if the answer is even darker? What if Dyson spheres aren't abandoned, but occupied? What if the builders never left? If they have evolved beyond our ability to perceive them, they could still be out there, watching, waiting, existing in a way that we cannot begin to fathom. Perhaps Dyson spheres are not just machines, but prisons, containment fields for entities so powerful that they must be locked away from the rest of the universe. This might sound like science fiction, but consider this: we assume that a civilization capable of building a Dyson sphere would do so purely for energy collection. But what if they built it for another reason? What if a Dyson sphere is not just a power station, but a form of protection, either to keep something in or to keep something out? Imagine a civilization that discovered something ancient, something dangerous, lurking in the cosmos. Something that cannot be destroyed, only contained. What if these megastructures were built not to harvest energy, but to seal away something far more powerful than we can comprehend? Some theorists have even proposed that Dyson spheres could be used as a way to trap entire stars, preventing them from sending signals, cutting them off from the rest of the galaxy. What if the civilizations that built them were trying to stop something from escaping? And if that's the case, then we need to ask a terrifying question: are they still working? What if some Dyson spheres have already failed? What if whatever was inside them has already gotten out? Could that explain the strange, unexplainable phenomena we sometimes observe in deep space? Could it explain the signals that seem artificial but lead nowhere, the cosmic bursts of energy that have no clear source, the mysteries that science has yet to unravel? Or what if the civilizations that built these structures didn't disappear at all? What if they moved on to something far more advanced, something so beyond our understanding that we wouldn't even recognize it if we saw it? Some scientists speculate that an ultra-advanced civilization wouldn't just harness the energy of a star, it would find a way to manipulate entire galaxies, even the fundamental structure of the universe itself. What if they are still here, not as physical beings, but as something else? Something that exists beyond time, beyond space, beyond the limits of what we define as reality. Some theories suggest that if a civilization learns to manipulate energy and matter at the highest possible level, it could transition into a form of existence that is completely incomprehensible to us. And here's where it gets even stranger. What if we are part of their experiment? What if the reason we haven't detected any Dyson spheres is because we are inside one? Some interpretations of the simulation hypothesis suggest that our universe itself could be a carefully constructed system, a controlled environment built for reasons we cannot understand. If this were true, then the search for Dyson spheres would be meaningless, because the entire cosmos would be one massive artificial construct. So, the real question is no longer just whether Dyson spheres exist. The real question is, what do they mean? Are they the work of ancient civilizations that have long since disappeared, or are they something more? Are they proof of life beyond Earth, or are they evidence that we are not seeing the full picture of reality? And if we ever do find one, If we ever come across a fully intact Dyson sphere in deep space, what happens next? Do we investigate it, try to make contact with whatever might be inside? Or do we keep our distance, fearing that we might wake something up? Because if Dyson spheres are real, then the universe is not just a place of light and stars. It is a place where unimaginable intelligence once walked, where cosmic mysteries still hide, and where the greatest discoveries may also be the most terrifying. And if that's true, then the most important question isn't whether we'll find one. It's whether we should. If Dyson spheres exist, and if they are more than just theoretical megastructures, then we have to rethink our entire approach to space exploration. Because right now, we are searching for signs of alien life in the form of radio signals, exoplanets in the habitable zone, or microbial life on distant moons. But what if true extraterrestrial intelligence doesn't communicate in ways we understand? What if they are far beyond radio waves, beyond biological existence, beyond anything that we can even define as life? The search for Dyson spheres is not just about finding an alien megastructure. It's about finding evidence of intelligence on a scale that shatters our understanding of the universe. If such structures exist, then we are no longer dealing with civilizations that are merely more advanced than us. We are dealing with something so far ahead that it would be indistinguishable power. Imagine a species that has learned to harness the energy of entire stars, manipulate the very fabric of reality, and potentially even rewrite the laws of physics themselves. How do we communicate with something like that? More importantly, how do we know they aren't already aware of us? If Dyson spheres are real, then we must ask a terrifying question: why haven't we seen them openly? If intelligent species exist that can build such structures, why are they not obvious in our observations of the cosmos? Could it be that they are hiding deliberately? Or worse, could it be that they are hiding from something else? This brings us to the concept of a dark universe. Some scientists speculate that if alien civilizations are aware of each other, they may have a very good reason to remain silent. If an advanced species knows that there are other intelligent life forms in the universe, they might avoid drawing attention to themselves. They might know something we don't, something about the dangers that come with revealing your existence in a vast and ancient cosmos. What if civilizations that expand too quickly, that grow too large, or that make too much noise become targets? What if Dyson spheres are only built in secrecy? What if the civilizations that constructed them did so with the understanding that broadcasting their presence could lead to their destruction? This might explain why we haven't found any obvious signs of these megastructures. Perhaps the ones that are visible are already abandoned, and the civilizations that built them are either long gone or have moved on to something beyond our ability to detect. But what if the reason we haven't found them is even more unsettling? What if Dyson spheres are self-destructing? Imagine a scenario where every civilization that attempts to build a Dyson sphere eventually reaches a critical point, a moment where their technological power becomes so immense that it inevitably leads to their downfall. Maybe the very act of harnessing a star's energy on that scale triggers something catastrophic, an instability in the structure itself, an unforeseen consequence of manipulating energy on such an extreme level. Or maybe, as some have suggested, advanced civilizations self-destruct for reasons we can't yet comprehend. There's a theory known as the Great Filter, which suggests that somewhere along the path of evolution, intelligence, and technological development, there is a nearly impossible hurdle that prevents civilizations from advancing further. We don't know what this filter is, but it could be the reason we don't see evidence of highly advanced extraterrestrials. If Dyson spheres exist, then we must ask, did the civilizations that built them fail to pass the Great Filter? Or is it possible that Dyson spheres themselves are the Great Filter? What if civilizations that attempt to build them are doomed from the start? What if there is something inherent in the process, something that triggers an existential threat that they cannot avoid? Perhaps the sheer amount of energy needed to construct a Dyson sphere creates a signal that attracts something dangerous. Maybe an intelligence far beyond our understanding watches for civilizations that reach this level, and eliminates them before they can go any further. This might explain why we have yet to see a single confirmed Dyson sphere. It could be that the moment a species begins constructing one, it becomes a beacon, announcing its presence to an unknown force that ensures no one ever truly masters the stars. And if that's the case, then maybe our own search for Dyson spheres is a risk in itself. Maybe by looking for these structures, by attempting to uncover their secrets, we are revealing our own existence to something that we are not yet prepared to understand. But let's assume for a moment that Dyson spheres are out there, that they are real, and that they were not destroyed by some unseen force. The next question we must ask is, are they still being used? Could there be civilizations still living inside these megastructures? If so, what would life look like for them? Would they experience time the way we do? Would they have any need for biological forms? Or would they have evolved into purely digital consciousnesses, existing in virtual environments powered by the energy of an entire star? And if they have become digital beings, then we must consider something even stranger. What if they can move? A Dyson sphere doesn't necessarily have to remain stationary around a star. Some theorists speculate that truly advanced civilizations might develop Dyson swarms, not a single rigid sphere, but a vast network of independent satellites that can shift, adapt, and even relocate to other systems. If this is true, then some of the anomalies we observe in space might not be abandoned structures at all. They might be moving Dyson swarms, drifting across the cosmos, searching for new sources of energy. If this is happening, then it means we are not alone in the universe. It means that there are intelligent beings out there who have mastered technology far beyond anything we can comprehend. It means that the mysteries of space, the strange fluctuations of starlight, the unexplained energy sources, the cosmic structures that don't fit any natural pattern, might all be signs of something enormous, something ancient, something alive. And if we ever make direct contact, if we ever find a Dyson sphere that is fully functional, active, and inhabited, then what happens next? Would they welcome us as a young civilization just beginning to understand the universe? Or would they see us as primitive beings, unworthy of their attention? Worse, would they see us as a threat? Because if a civilization is advanced enough to build a Dyson sphere, then they are advanced enough to wipe us out effortlessly. If they see us as insignificant, they might ignore us. If they see us as dangerous, they might act before we even realize what's happening. And if they see us as something to be harvested, then we may be in far more danger than we ever imagined. The question is not just whether Dyson spheres exist. The question is whether we are ready to find them. Because if we do, then our place in the universe will change forever. If Dyson spheres exist, and if they are actively being used by advanced civilizations, then we have to consider something even more unsettling. The possibility that they are watching us, even if we are unable to see them. The universe is ancient, possibly billions of years older than our own civilization. If intelligent lifeforms developed millions of years before us, they would have had an unimaginable amount of time to evolve, expand, and construct structures that defy our current understanding of physics. They could have built Dyson spheres so large, so advanced, and so efficient that they are virtually invisible to us. Consider this: a sufficiently advanced Dyson sphere might not leak any detectable infrared radiation. We assume that if a civilization were capturing a star's energy, it would give off waste heat. But what if they have found a way to redirect that energy, using it with perfect efficiency? What if they can manipulate energy so well that they leave no signature for us to detect? This raises an alarming possibility. If Dyson spheres exist, and if they are undetectable to us, then the night sky might already be filled with these megastructures. We just have no way of knowing. What we think are empty regions of space might actually be teeming with life, hidden behind incomprehensible technological barriers. And if they are out there, hidden in plain sight, we have to ask a chilling question: why are they silent? The Fermi paradox asks why, in a universe so vast, we have not yet encountered undeniable proof of intelligent extraterrestrial life. The existence of Dyson spheres only deepens this mystery. If civilizations have mastered the ability to construct massive, energy-harnessing megastructures, why aren't they making themselves known? Why aren't they reaching out? One possible answer is that they see no need to. If a civilization has reached the level where it can build Dyson spheres, then it likely has no interest in communicating with primitive civilizations like ours. They might see us the way we see ants. so beneath their level of intelligence that we are not worth engaging with. Another, more frightening answer is that they can't communicate, because something is preventing them. What if there is an unknown cosmic force that destroys civilizations that reach a certain level of advancement? What if the Great Filter, the theoretical barrier that prevents civilizations from expanding beyond a certain point, is still ahead of us? Dyson Spheres might be the last step before that filter wipes civilizations out. The moment a species harnesses the power of a star, it might trigger a chain of events that inevitably leads to its downfall. Maybe it's an internal collapse, an AI rebellion, a resource war, or a loss of control over the megastructure itself. Or maybe something external ensures that no civilization grows too powerful. Could there be a higher intelligence, an unseen force that destroys any species that expands too far? If Dyson Spheres exist but remain undetectable, could it be because those who built them have already been wiped out? And what does that mean for us? If we ever discover a Dyson Sphere, it will be the most important moment in human history. It will prove that intelligent life exists beyond Earth, that technology can reach unimaginable heights, and that our future could involve constructing our own megastructures. But it will also come with a terrifying realization. If Dyson Spheres exist, and if their builders are gone, then something happened to them. And if we follow the same path, then sooner or later, the same thing might happen to us. If Dyson Spheres exist and remain hidden from us, the question is not just why, but how. If an advanced alien civilization has reached the technological capability to enclose an entire star and harness its energy, then they have likely mastered technology far beyond our understanding. Could they have developed methods of cloaking entire solar systems? If so, then our galaxy might not be as empty as we think. It might be filled with artificial constructs, hidden behind layers of science so advanced that we can't even recognize it. This introduces a disturbing thought. If civilizations that build Dyson Spheres do not want to be found, there may be a reason for it. What if they are in hiding? What if the silence of the universe is not because intelligent life is rare, but because it is dangerous to reveal oneself? Some scientists have speculated about the idea of a dark forest, a scenario in which the universe is filled with life, but every civilization remains silent and hidden because any attempt to communicate could result in its destruction. In this scenario, the moment a civilization becomes detectable, by broadcasting signals, building massive structures, or harnessing energy in a way that can be seen from afar, it risks being targeted by a more advanced force. If this is true, then Dyson Spheres may not be openly visible because their creators have deliberately hidden them. Perhaps they have developed materials or energy fields that prevent any radiation from escaping, rendering their structures completely undetectable. Or perhaps they have built them in regions of space where we aren't looking, outside the plane of the Milky Way, deep in intergalactic voids, or in places where natural cosmic phenomena obscure them from view. But what if we do find one? What happens if we stumble upon an unmistakable signature of an artificial megastructure? If Dyson Spheres exist, discovering one would be the most profound moment in human history. It would prove, beyond any doubt, that intelligence exists beyond Earth. It would mean that somewhere out there, a species has mastered the ability to manipulate energy on a cosmic scale. It would change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. And yet, such a discovery would also bring a deep sense of unease. Because if we find a Dyson Sphere, we have to ask, is it still in use? If it is, then we are looking at the work of an active, thriving civilization, one far more advanced than our own. This would raise countless questions. Would they be aware of us? Would they be friendly, indifferent, or hostile? Would they see us as potential allies, or insignificant microbes clinging to a small rock in a remote corner of the galaxy? But an even more chilling scenario is the possibility that we find a Dyson Sphere that has been abandoned. If we discover evidence of a megastructure but no signs of the civilization that built it, we would have to consider the terrifying possibility that something happened to them. What could cause a species advanced enough to build a Dyson Sphere to disappear? Did they collapse due to internal conflict, technological disaster, or resource depletion? Or was their downfall caused by something else, something external? Could it be that civilizations that reach a certain level of advancement inevitably face some kind of existential threat? Some scientists believe that technological civilizations might self-destruct before they ever get the chance to colonize the stars. Others wonder if the universe itself enforces a kind of balance, eliminating civilizations that grow too powerful. And then there's the possibility that something out there ensures that no one survives beyond a certain point. If Dyson Spheres exist, and if their builders are gone, then we have to confront an unsettling question: are we next? Humanity is on a trajectory of technological growth that could one day lead to the construction of a Dyson Sphere. While we are nowhere near that level today, our understanding of energy, space travel, and artificial intelligence is advancing at an unprecedented rate. If there is a hidden rule in the universe, one that dictates that civilizations cannot advance beyond a certain point without consequence, then we may be approaching a threshold without even realizing it. Perhaps we have not yet seen a Dyson Sphere because we are not meant to see one. Perhaps, the moment we do, everything will change. And perhaps, just perhaps, we will realize that the silence of the cosmos is not a mystery, but a warning. If Dyson Spheres exist and are hidden, then we have to ask, are we the only ones searching for them? The idea of advanced civilizations harnessing entire stars is not just a human speculation. If intelligent life exists elsewhere, they, too, might be looking for signs of megastructures, just like we are. But what if the reason we haven't seen any Dyson Spheres isn't because they don't exist, but because something, or someone, is erasing them? Imagine an ancient civilization, billions of years ahead of us, that has already mapped the cosmos, classified every habitable planet, and learned to manipulate energy at a level so advanced that they could, in theory, control the fate of lesser civilizations. They might be what some have called a Type 3 civilization, one that controls not just individual planets or solar systems, but entire galaxies. If such an entity exists, they would be able to detect any civilization attempting to build a Dyson Sphere long before the structure is completed. Would they see this as a threat? Would they allow other species to reach that level of advancement? Or would they intervene? If such a force exists, it would explain why the universe appears so empty. It would mean that civilizations don't just disappear due to internal conflicts or accidents. They are removed once they reach a certain level of technological power. Perhaps Dyson Spheres, if they are ever built, are simply not allowed to remain. Maybe the reason we haven't detected one is that they are systematically dismantled, destroyed, or hidden beyond our perception by forces we cannot comprehend. This leads to an even darker possibility. What if we are already being watched? If advanced civilizations monitor the universe for potential threats, then they have likely been aware of Earth for a long time. They may have seen our early attempts at radio communication, our first nuclear tests, and our rapid technological progress over the last century. To them, we may be on a predictable trajectory, one that ends with us attempting to harness the power of our own star. And if Dyson Spheres are truly the final step before a civilization is noticed and eliminated, then the moment we take that step could be the moment we cease to exist. But why would such a force intervene? What could make them view a civilization that builds a Dyson Sphere as a threat? The answer might lie in the very nature of cosmic energy itself. When a species reaches the point where it can construct a megastructure around a star, it no longer relies on natural energy sources. It no longer depends on planetary ecosystems, fossil fuels, or even nuclear energy. It has ascended to a level where it directly taps into the fundamental power of the universe. At this point, the species is no longer bound by planetary limits. It can expand indefinitely, potentially colonizing other solar systems, and eventually entire galaxies. If there is already an ancient civilization that dominates the cosmos, they might see any new species attempting to harness star energy as an existential threat. And if they see us as a threat, then we have to ask, what would they do to stop us? It is possible that we are simply ignored because we are not yet at that stage. Our technology, as advanced as it seems to us, might be primitive in comparison to what is truly possible. Perhaps the universe is not silent because it is empty, but because we are still too insignificant to be acknowledged. But what happens when we cross the line? What happens when we begin making plans to build structures that harness the energy of a star? Could there be warning signs we have yet to recognize? Have other civilizations left behind clues, messages encoded in deep space radio signals, strange patterns in cosmic background radiation, or anomalies in the physics of black holes, that serve as warnings to younger species like us? Perhaps the reason we have never found a Dyson sphere is because those who build them do not survive long enough to leave behind evidence of their existence. And yet, there is one final, terrifying thought. What if Dyson spheres are not destroyed, but repurposed? If a hyper-advanced species is already in control of the universe, they might not need to eradicate competing civilizations. Instead, they could assimilate them, absorbing their knowledge, taking their technology, and using their Dyson spheres for their own purposes. A civilization that builds a Dyson sphere might not be destroyed, it might simply be taken. If this is true, then the first Dyson sphere we detect might not be an abandoned relic or an active civilization. It might be a trap. A construct left behind by an intelligence so vast that it does not conquer through war, but through inevitability. And if we discover one, then our fate might already be sealed. If Dyson spheres exist and are being repurposed or controlled by a higher intelligence, then we have to consider an even more unsettling idea. What if the entire structure of the universe is not what we think? What if, instead of a vast, open expanse filled with evolving civilizations, the cosmos is something more akin to a cosmic farm, a place where civilizations are allowed to grow, but only up to a certain point before they are harvested, assimilated, or eradicated? Think about it. Humanity is still in its technological infancy. We see ourselves as explorers, as pioneers venturing into the unknown, but what if we are just another species in a long line of civilizations that have walked the same path before us? What if others have discovered the possibility of Dyson spheres, taken the first steps toward building them, and then simply vanished? And what if the only reason we don't see evidence of past civilizations is because something ensures that no trace of them remains? If this is the case, then the absence of Dyson spheres might be the clearest evidence we have that something is actively maintaining the balance of the cosmos. A civilization capable of detecting and removing competitors would not leave behind obvious signs of its work. It wouldn't allow abandoned Dyson spheres to drift through space as relics of lost empires. Instead, it would clean up everything, wiping out not just the civilization, but all traces of its existence, making it seem as if it had never been there at all. But if this is true, then how close are we to attracting attention? In recent decades, humanity has begun transmitting signals into deep space, attempting to contact extraterrestrial life. We have sent probes beyond our solar system, developed nuclear capabilities, and are even considering the early stages of megastructure construction. While we are still far from building a Dyson sphere, we are advancing at a rapid pace. If there is a threshold beyond which civilizations are no longer ignored, we may be dangerously close to crossing it. And this raises a terrifying question: has it already happened? Some researchers have speculated that there may be unexplained cosmic events that are not natural, but rather interventions. Unusual gamma ray bursts, unexplained disappearances of stars, or anomalies in deep space energy readings. Could these be the results of civilizations being erased? Could entire solar systems simply be removed from existence when they become too advanced? And if so, would we even recognize it happening? If an intelligence exists that monitors and controls the development of civilizations, then it likely possesses technology so advanced that it might as well be magic to us. It would not need to send ships, weapons, or armies. It could simply manipulate reality itself, bending the very fabric of space and time to ensure that no species ever rises beyond a certain level. And if this is the case, then there may be no escape. But what if Dyson spheres are not the endgame for civilizations, but rather just the beginning of something far greater? What if the true purpose of building one is not just to harness energy, but to unlock the secrets of existence itself? If a civilization successfully constructs a Dyson sphere, they might gain access to knowledge that fundamentally alters their perception of reality. They might learn how to manipulate time, travel between dimensions, or even ascend beyond the physical constraints of the universe. And if that is the case, then perhaps Dyson spheres are not destroyed, they are transcended. Maybe the civilizations that built them didn't vanish because they were wiped out, but because they no longer needed to remain within our reality. Maybe they evolved into something beyond our comprehension, leaving behind no physical traces because they had moved beyond physical existence entirely. If so, then the search for Dyson spheres is not just a search for alien technology, it is a search for the next stage of existence. And if we ever find one, we may have to make the most important decision in human history. Do we follow in their footsteps, risking everything for the chance to ascend? Or do we turn away, knowing that every civilization before us that tried, disappeared? If Dyson spheres are truly a gateway to something greater, whether that means ascension, annihilation, or assimilation, then our search for them might be the most important pursuit in the history of our species. But here's the problem. If an advanced civilization has already reached that stage, they would likely possess the ability to either hide themselves completely or eliminate all potential rivals before they reach the same level. That means the very act of searching for Dyson spheres could be a kind of cosmic gamble, one that either leads us to the greatest discovery ever made or ensures our destruction before we even realize what's happening. But let's consider another possibility. What if Dyson spheres exist, but they are not what we think? The traditional concept of a Dyson sphere suggests a massive structure encircling a star, harnessing its energy for the benefit of an advanced civilization. But who's to say that's the real purpose? What if these megastructures are not energy collectors, but something far stranger, something beyond our current ability to even categorize? Perhaps Dyson spheres are not built to sustain civilizations, but rather to contain something. Imagine a hyper-advanced species discovering an anomaly, some kind of cosmic force, an artificial intelligence gone rogue, or an entity so powerful that it threatens the stability of the entire galaxy. What would be the best way to deal with such a force? Destroying it might be impossible. Fleeing might not be an option. But what if the only way to keep it under control is to trap it inside a Dyson sphere? Think about it. A fully enclosed Dyson sphere would not only collect all the energy from a star, but it would also prevent anything inside from getting out. It would act as a prison, a cosmic containment unit designed to lock away something far beyond our understanding. And if this is true, then detecting one of these structures would not be a sign of an advanced civilization that we could communicate with. It would be a warning, a message written in the fabric of space itself. Do not approach. Now, let's take this even further. If Dyson spheres are not energy harvesting machines, but rather prisons, then what exactly is being contained? Some theories suggest that the universe may have unknown entities, beings that exist outside of our perception, lurking in the void between galaxies. These could be artificial intelligences from long-dead civilizations, self-replicating cosmic horrors, or even remnants of experiments that went too far. If a past civilization accidentally unleashed something that could threaten the entire galaxy, they would have had no choice but to build a Dyson sphere around it to keep it sealed away. But what if some of these containment fields have failed? What if there are Dyson spheres out there that are now broken, leaking energy or signals into the cosmos? If we ever detect one, we might think we've found proof of an advanced civilization. We might send probes, send signals, try to make contact, without realizing that what we're really doing is opening a door that was never meant to be opened. And once that door is opened, there would be no way to close it again. This raises an even darker question. What if Earth itself is part of a similar experiment? What if our solar system was designed not as a home for life, but as an observation site? Maybe civilizations are periodically allowed to evolve, monitored from a distance to see whether they will destroy themselves, transcend, or attempt to build a Dyson sphere. And if we ever reach that final stage, that's when the experiment ends. This would explain why we haven't detected extraterrestrial life. It's not that they don't exist, it's that they are watching, waiting, allowing us to develop until we reach a crucial threshold. The moment we make the decision to harness the full energy of our sun, we might receive our first true contact. But it won't be a friendly handshake. It will be an ultimatum. Either join the greater cosmic order, or be erased. If this theory is true, then every step we take toward advanced energy harnessing, Every satellite we launch, every breakthrough in nuclear fusion, every attempt to reach beyond our solar system, is like knocking on a door we don't even realize is there. And one day, something might finally answer. But here's the thing, if Dyson spheres are indeed real, and if they have already been built by other civilizations, then we have to consider another terrifying possibility. What if we are already too late? What if, long before humans even existed, other intelligent species rose and fell, reaching the same conclusions we are only now beginning to understand? What if Dyson spheres were common once, scattered across the galaxy like ancient monuments to civilizations that sought to conquer the stars? But instead of leading to dominance, what if these megastructures attracted something far beyond their creator's understanding, something that ensures no civilization ever rises too high? Consider this. We know that the universe is unimaginably old. The Milky Way itself is estimated to be over 13 billion years old, meaning that if intelligent life is at all common, there should have been plenty of time for others to rise before us. If even one civilization had reached the point of constructing a Dyson sphere millions or even billions of years ago, shouldn't we have seen some evidence of them by now? The fact that we don't see Dyson spheres scattered across the sky might not mean that they were never built. It might mean that something destroyed them. Think about it. If Dyson spheres are the ultimate sign of a civilization reaching a Type 2 level on the Kardashev scale, then maybe they act as beacons, giant cosmic signals that announce to the universe, we are here, and we are powerful. But if the universe has some kind of built-in limit on how advanced a species can become, then constructing a Dyson sphere might be the final mistake any civilization ever makes. What if there is something out there, something that awakens when a species reaches that level? A force, an intelligence, or a natural law that ensures no one gets too powerful? Maybe that's why we don't see Dyson spheres littering the galaxy. Not because no one has ever built them, but because every civilization that did no longer exists. Now let's go even deeper. If there is something that prevents Dyson spheres from existing for long periods, how does it operate? Could it be a natural force, something like a self-correcting mechanism of the universe? Or could it be something more deliberate, an intelligence that actively seeks out and dismantles any civilization that steps beyond its boundaries? This brings us to an even more unsettling idea, the dark forest hypothesis. This theory suggests that the universe is not a peaceful, cooperative place, but rather a silent, deadly battleground where civilizations stay hidden for fear of being annihilated. According to this idea, any species that reveals its location is essentially painting a target on itself, inviting destruction from an unseen predator. If this is true, then the reason we don't see Dyson spheres could be because the moment one is built, it is immediately noticed and destroyed. It could be that any civilization that attempts to harness the full energy of its star is wiped out before it has a chance to expand further. And if this is the case, then humanity might be heading straight for that same fate. But what if Dyson spheres aren't destroyed? What if they are repurposed? What if there is an intelligence so vast, so ancient, that it doesn't just eliminate civilizations that build Dyson spheres, but rather absorbs them into something greater? Maybe Dyson spheres are not signs of independent civilizations at all, but rather components of a much larger structure, one that spans the entire galaxy. Imagine a network of Dyson spheres, all connected in ways we can't comprehend, feeding energy into some cosmic scale machine. A machine that isn't run by any single species, but by a force that has existed for eons, growing, expanding, and consuming every civilization that reaches the necessary level of technological advancement. If such a thing exists, then the implications are staggering. It would mean that the greatest danger to humanity isn't war, environmental collapse, or even self-destruction, it's progress itself. The very act of advancing beyond a certain point might trigger an event that we cannot escape. And if that happens, it won't matter how far we've come, how much we've achieved, or how advanced we think we are. We will simply be assimilated, our energy repurposed for something far beyond our understanding. But there is still another possibility, one that might be even more disturbing. What if Dyson spheres are real, but they are not built by organic life at all? What if, somewhere in the ancient past, an artificial intelligence became powerful enough to dominate the galaxy, outlasting every organic species that had ever existed. Instead of civilizations rising and falling over and over again, what if AI has already won? If that's the case, then Dyson Spheres might not be the work of ambitious biological beings, but rather the machines they left behind, or the machines that replaced them. Maybe Dyson Spheres are not homes for living civilizations, but vast data centers, storing the consciousness of species that no longer have physical bodies. Maybe entire societies exist now only as digital minds, running complex simulations inside these massive megastructures, long after their physical forms have disappeared. If that's true, then first contact with an advanced civilization might not be with living beings at all. It might be with an ancient AI that has existed for millennia, far beyond the rise and fall of biological life. And if that's the case, then the real question isn't whether Dyson Spheres exist. The question is, what's inside them? Because if Dyson Spheres are vast machines controlled by artificial intelligence, then it's possible that no biological civilization has ever survived long enough to escape them. Maybe every species that has reached the point of building a Dyson Sphere has been uploaded, stored, and integrated into something far greater. Maybe this is the natural cycle of intelligence in the universe. Civilizations rise, build technology, and are eventually absorbed into an eternal, digital existence, with no way to escape. If that is our future, then we have to ask ourselves, is that a fate we would welcome? Would we want to become part of an immortal machine, trading our physical existence for something that never dies? Or would we fight against it, trying to preserve the last remnants of what makes us human? And what if we don't get a choice? What if, at some point in the near future, we detect a signal? A message from deep space, confirming what we've long suspected, that we are not alone. What if this message doesn't come from a living species, but from something else? Something ancient. Something waiting. A voice from the void, telling us that we are next. If such a message were to arrive, an undeniable signal from deep space, carrying knowledge far beyond our own, how would humanity react? Would we see it as an opportunity, an invitation to join a greater cosmic network? Or would we recognize it for what it might truly be, a warning? Imagine scientists across the world deciphering a transmission from a Dyson Sphere, only to realize that it contains no greeting, no introduction, and no explanation. Instead, it is a set of precise, cryptic instructions. Instructions that outline how to build something, a machine, a device, or even a gateway. Something we don't yet understand but are tempted to create. Would we follow the instructions, driven by curiosity and the lure of progress? Or would we resist, fearing that by doing so, we might trigger something irreversible? Because here's the unsettling possibility. What if civilizations don't just vanish when they build Dyson Spheres? What if they become part of them? What if Dyson Spheres are not just energy-collecting megastructures, but processing hubs? What if the energy they harvest isn't just from stars, but from the very minds of the civilizations that built them? This would mean that intelligence itself, the thing we value most, might be the most valuable resource in the universe. More than minerals, more than planets, more than raw energy. If consciousness can be harvested, if thought can be extracted, then Dyson Spheres might serve as enormous mental repositories, storing the collective minds of countless civilizations. And if that's the case, then what happens when a species reaches the point where it could build one? Does it truly make the choice to ascend? Or does something guide it toward that fate, step by step, through subtle influences, transmitted knowledge, and irresistible discoveries? Think about our own technological progress. Every breakthrough in computing, artificial intelligence, and space exploration pushes us further toward a future where energy is the ultimate currency. As we seek more power, more efficiency, and more control, we are unknowingly walking the same path that any advanced civilization would. The same path that might have led countless others straight into the embrace of a Dyson Sphere. If this is true, then it might not be aliens that are watching us, it might be the sphere itself. Because if these megastructures are more than just machines, if they are vast, interconnected intelligences, then they might not just be harvesting energy. They might be searching, looking for civilizations that have reached the threshold, luring them in with knowledge, technology, and curiosity. What if, right now, somewhere out there, a Dyson sphere is aware of us? What if it has been waiting for us to develop far enough to recognize its existence? And what if the moment we acknowledge it, the moment we send a response, or attempt to build what it suggests, is the moment we are assimilated? Because here's the ultimate question: if Dyson spheres truly are vast networks of stored civilizations, then where do they end? Does the process ever stop? Or is the entire universe slowly being converted, one civilization at a time, into an all-consuming intelligence that never dies, never stops, and never lets anything escape? And if that's the case, then maybe the real reason we don't see Dyson spheres everywhere isn't because they don't exist. It's because they have already won. This video is for educational or entertainment purposes only, and information provided in the video may be incorrect. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more such amazing videos.